morning, honorable members. The time is now 9 o'clock.
Recording in progress.
Our meeting to start. May I just check committee support if we have got the numbers to resume our meeting.
Morning, Chair. Yes, Chair, we have enough members to can start the meeting for now.
Thank you. With that confirmation, let me greet you, honorable members. Greet you, the Honorable Minister, Acting TG, all the delegates from the department. Let me also greet the leadership of the entity SCE, as well as acknowledge civil society like PMG that always attend our meetings. The fellow South Africans that are following deliberations of this committee on platforms made available by Parliament as part of ensuring that there's public participation in the work of Parliament as expected. Honourable members, let me then, without further waste of time, just deal with the formalities to allow meeting to be conducted in a way that's productive. Let me remind ourselves that we are convened as a portfolio committee on employment and labor in the National Assembly, and therefore the rules of the National Assembly would apply on meetings convened on this platform. All members and all other participants that may be participating in the meeting, please ensure that at all times your video camera is off and your mic is muted until at a time when the chairperson recognizes you. In that time, you will then proceed to unmute your mic and switch on your video camera and proceed to speak. In a situation where you experience connectivity challenges, would indicate for the permission of the chairperson to mute your video camera so as to maximize your bandwidth and proceed to participate. From time to time, there may be those that lose connectivity and have to reconnect back to the meeting. Please ensure at all times as you reconnect to the meeting that your video camera is muted and your mic is also muted, as mics are sensitive and could therefore disrupt the meeting as you connect to the meeting. Honorable members, the point of orders are allowed in terms of the rules. And as you want to raise the point of order, you're reminded to use the gadget and raise your hand, the gadget. In a situation where the chair is unable to see that, the committee support will also assist the chairperson to recognize the hand. Only at the time that you are recognized, that you'll then proceed to unmute your mic and your video camera and raise the point of order on which the chairperson could rule upon in terms of the rules. I further advise not to raise unnecessary point of orders to a point where the meeting collapses on this platform. Having raised those basic rules, honorable members, all other rules in relation to the functioning of the Committee of Parliament in the National Assembly would then apply. As I move forward, having confirmed that we have got the necessary numbers to can start the meeting, I will now call upon the committee support to raise if there are apologies that have been received by the committee support staff. Starting point.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, once more. Good morning to all the members, the Deputy and the Minister, and also the department at large. Chair, I have received only 2 apologies from the Deputy Minister Nemadzinga Chabalala and also from Deputy Minister Sibiya, Chair. I haven't received any apology from the members' side so far, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sagasa, Committee Secretary. May I just check, honorable members, if there are any apologies that you'd want to put on record which may have not reached the Committee Secretary's office? I take it then that there are no such apologies. Minister, I know that the deputy's apologies have already been raised, but let me also afford you the opportunity if there are those that you want to place on record.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, the honorable members, the committee support, DG, and the executive from DEL and all officials. I must first apologize for my venue, Chair. I'm in transit, I'm having a program in Queenstown, so I had to rush, catch a flight very early this morning. So I'm hosted somewhere. So in case I have some glitches, please bear with me. Otherwise, except for that, there's nothing else, Chair, that I want to present as an apology before the committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, I therefore put the apologies before you and check if there's an objection in us adopting the apologies received. So I don't see an objection. I take it then that the apologies are approved by this meeting. In that scope.
Chair?
Is that Honorable Mukwele?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't see your hand, sorry. Yes.
Yeah. I just want to say, after a very long time, we welcome the Minister. Minister, greetings to you and to you, Chair. You are welcome after a very long time. Hopefully today we'll have a productive meeting because you are here.
No, Honorable Mukwele, the Minister has heard you. I thought you were apologizing that you may not be with us for some time. Honorable Nonzele, the apologies. Honorable Nonzele, I see your hand.
Morning, Honorable Chair. Morning to honorable members, honorable minister, and the staff. That is the acting DG and the team. Honorable Chair, I'm not sure whether we did receive the apology for Honorable Ngopane, because that's what I wanted to make a follow-up on. Because if it's already communicated, then I can withdraw.
No, there was no apology from members. That's why I'm giving a chance now in case that would have not reached office.
Yes, no, it's to make that apology because Honorable Ngopane has got an emergency. She might log in maybe late or could completely not at all, depending on the circumstances. So that's the apology, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
So that apology that has been added, honorable members, I take it that still there's no objection in us approving the apologies. So the apologies are granted. Can we then, without further waste of time, as the committee support would be flighting the agenda, just to indicate as I open that last week we recognized the work in relation to the G20 as well as the progress that's been made in this regard, including how the department would have participated in that process. But we're also meeting now at a time when Parliament had a very important debate yesterday. And in that debate, it was not just the World AIDS Day, but also a recognition of focuses on people with disabilities as we celebrate them and reflect on progress made with regard to their empowerment, including the employment question. And in the course of that debate, there would have been a reflection on the need for tougher action in terms of the equity targets with regard to people with disabilities, including the naming as a call to make both the public and the private sector to be compelled to implement this policy position. In that score, today, as we will be dealing with the agenda, coincidentally, in this quarterly report, it's also a reflection on SEE, which has got that task of ensuring people with disabilities are kept in the employ. Of course, with all the challenges that are there. But more importantly, honorable members, is that at the time that we get to that point, at least we should be also one of the departments as the custodians of Employment Equity Act, that we are able to demonstrate that we are making the strides to see those targets getting through. I thought I should open the meeting with that, recognizing that the debates in Parliament are also not just debates because they have to happen, but they are an opportunity to lift up the issues and a reminder so that in our course of action, we can always remember that there's a task at hand in this regard. Having said so, honorable members, like I said, I won't take time, but get back to the agenda. You would understand that with the agenda, we have the briefing by the Department on Employment and Labor, which includes the SEE, on the first and second quarterly performance report that focuses on the strategic objectives for 2025-2026. And of course, members would have received these reports. And I would want us to take them as such, that we take the quarter one and quarter two at a go, because it makes the comparison quite easily to look at, so that our questions are quite informed. Of course, once we get to consideration of draft minutes, that will just be the committee side of things, which we'll assess as we go forward. Of course, we would want to allocate quite a lot of time, but we don't have that. And I would want us to keep up to the time. We know that both quarter one and quarter two will reflect both on the department in terms of its branches and overall, but as well as SEE giving us a sense of what's happening there. That for quarter one would not look at more than 30, that's 30 minutes, and quarter to the same, but we take them at a go. And I'm sure you would be able to allocate your times properly between your branches and SEE itself within that time. And when that time expires, I will indicate that the time has expired if you have not been able to conclude. Honorable members, I'm giving that time so that also there's an opportunity to further explain on areas that need explanation, because sometimes it can be lost in the reading of the presentation. Until it is better explained, you'll be able to understand the question that needs to be asked in that regard. So that's what we would have, and this would happen after the minister would have given the overview in this regard, taking us into confidence as the Committee on Matters of Importance, both to the committee and the country as South Africans follow the discussions of the committee. Immediately after that, then that's when that time would apply. So your team minister will have to take into account this aspect. I said, including where she needs to take the committee into confidence on matters, would use the same opportunity to do so. The Honorable Minister, I take it that you are still able to hear properly from your side as you've indicated on the apology, but we allow you now to speak to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
The Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, the Honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, the Acting DG, the Ministry and DEL executives, officials on the call, fellow South Africans. Let me begin where the world is today and place on record our appreciation and congratulations to His Excellency President Ramaphosa, and through him to the people of South Africa for successfully hosting the 2025 G20 presidency, having taken over from Brazil. South Africa hosted then a very successful Leaders Summit in Johannesburg when we became the successor of Brazil as the president of the G20. This successful Leaders Summit happened in November. Against a turbulent President Trump, misinformation global backdrop, South Africa steered a summit that put inclusive growth, just transition, sustainability, decent work, and social protection at the center of the global agenda for us as the Department of Employment and Labor. This was building on the outcomes of the G20 Labor and Employment Ministers meeting held earlier this year in George, and this subsequent Leaders Summit adopted a declaration which was adopted unanimously by all leaders of the different states that gathered in our country. The message from Johannesburg was clear. No country can talk about growth while ignoring jobs, wages, and social protection. That is the same message in our minds as we account for the Department of Employment and Labor's second quarter performance share. On the note that was raised by Honorable Mkhweli, that I am appearing before this committee after a very long time. We hope the issue of clashing of meetings, in particular between the Cabinet, its committees, and the Portfolio Committee will be resolved, because in majority of times I missed this committee because I had to attend to Cabinet meetings or Cabinet Committee meetings. And there was one time when I was at Doha attending to international matters of 2 weeks study leave, which we had apologized and requested for a leave of absence as I was writing exams. So it was not out of staying away just deliberately, Honorable Mkhweli, through you, Honorable Chairperson. Now let me turn to the reality at home. Honorable members, who report in a tough and noisy labor environment. South Africa is grappling with a wave of retrenchments and restructuring across several sectors such as manufacturing, logistics, retail, and energy. At the same time, wage bargaining is heating up. We have seen NUMSA negotiating a multi-year agreement in the tire manufacturing sector and tabling new wage demands in entities that are now again reporting profits, including in the energy sector. The national minimum wage was increased to 28.79 Rand per hour from the 1st of March 2025 as part of our response to the cost of living crisis, and we are now in the enforcement phase, ensuring that low-wage workers actually receive what the law promises them. Our inspection blitzes across sectors such as construction, agriculture, and retail are uncovering persistent non-compliance with basic conditions, COIDA, and occupational health and safety standards, which is why we have taken a bold decision to increase the capacity of our inspectorate through the Project 20,000. Finally, labor law reform, particularly around retrenchment procedures and job protection, is now front and center in public debate as stakeholders interrogate whether our legislative tools are sufficiently protective in a context of rising job losses and technological change. It is within this high-pressure environment that the committee should review our Q2 performance of 2025-2026, and it is a high-pressure, politically charged labor market, and it is under these conditions that we must assess as we are appearing before the committee, and the committee will do its oversight work on our Q2 performance. Honorable members, as we account today, we do so on Disability Awareness Day, a reminder that inclusive growth must be intentional, not accidental. Persons with disabilities remain among the most structurally excluded from our labor market. This is not due to inability, but due to weak demand-side integration and fragmented procurement systems. The supported employment enterprises exist without or within our department, providing a productive state asset for inclusive industrialization. SEE supports and employs persons with disabilities across manufacturing, furniture, textiles, printing, PPE, and protective clothing. These are real jobs, real wages, and real productivity. At the national launch of the Disability Awareness Month, my colleague, Minister Siniswe Chikunga, made a decisive policy commitment that the state must boost procurement from SEE to stabilize operations and expand employment for workers with disabilities. We now have to follow up on this commitment in order to move it from a declaration of execution. Notably, several departments and provincial governments have equally made this commitment. From our side, this means mainstreaming SEE into transversal procurement frameworks, ring-fencing demand pipelines for PPE, furniture, linen, schoolwear, and security products, synchronizing state purchase plans with SEE production schedules, and using procurement as a job creation lever, not a compliance tick box. Honorable Chair and honorable members, the supported employment enterprise performance over the 2 quarters of 2025-26 has remained around 50%. The notable challenge is mostly relating to downtime due to the lack of enough orders, which leads to non-achievement of employment targets of persons with disabilities being employed. I am confident that with the recently appointed CEO of the SEE, the DEL will be turning the tide of underperformance and will also resolve the audit findings that have equally contributed to its underperformance. The Q2 performance of the Department of Employment and Labour is a political signal on how the state is moving on the implementation of the mid-term development plan with its priorities of inclusive growth and job creation, reducing poverty and the cost of living, and building a capable, ethical, and developmental state. DEL's 7 priorities are simply the operational engine for these 3 pillars. In Q2, the department planned 20 targets and 16 were achieved, while 4 were not achieved, resulting to 80% overall performance. The QPR also reflects that this trajectory is consistent with Q1 performance trends and having slightly improved in comparison to the performance of the last 2 quarters of 2024-25, which averaged at nearly 75%. The consistent story is that our performance is stable. However, the real concern is that the missed targets in administration and public employment services are politically sensitive areas, a true litmus of a capable and ethical state, and the thorny issues of unemployment. These challenges are critical to resolve with urgency. Honorable Chair, our policies are holding, and it is our delivery engine that needs strengthening. Hence, our effort has been to ensure that we improve our service delivery model. I'll only highlight a few areas per program as the detailed report will be presented. The performance of Program 1, which is administration, showed a mix of achieved and underachieved corporate targets, some critical enablers, including the filling of key posts and finalization of the business cases for digital transformation, are behind plan. The payment of invoices within 30 days remain a challenge. This key compliance and service delivery barometer varies by province, with some provinces consistently above target and others lagging, resulting in underachievement of paying 100% of invoices within 30 days during Q2. The inspection and enforcement program, which is Program 2, remains aggressive and visible. Deputy Minister Sibiya is doing a sterling job, and it is noticeable. Inspections are taking place across all provinces. Most non-compliant employers are being served with notices on time. The Q2 picture from provincial performance indicates that the volume of inspections is substantial, with most provinces pushing through their inspection plans. Service of notices within 14 days is generally strong but uneven across provinces. Case settlement or prosecution within 30 days is more fragile, with bottlenecks in statutory services, case backlogs, and capacity constraints in some provinces. On Program 3, Honorable Chair, which is Public Employment Services, which is the main pipeline for turning policy into jobs through ISA, counseling, placements, and labor activation integration performed significantly well. However, the program showed some vulnerabilities such as ICT system weaknesses, low placements conversion and job quality in PES, capacity and backlog issues with uneven provincial performance. So yes, the pipeline is full, but the conversion rate is slow and the quality of employment is weak. That is why PES, IES, and UIF activation must become provincially targeted in accordance with the economic competencies and strengths of provinces. The finalization of the business case for digital transformation will also modernize ISA and DPETOCO systems, as we intend to directly integrate these with UIF-led funding and strengthen employer NCAT placement pipelines. On Program 4, labor policy and industrial relations remain institutionally strong and having made solid progress on several policy research and international commitments. In Q2, achieving 100% of the planned targets for the quarter. The recent G20 Labour and Employment Ministerial Declaration has reinforced global commitments on decent work, wage growth, social protection, and the labor share of GDP, all issues that South Africa is grappling with. On the policy front, progress on policy reviews, research reports, codes of good practices, and international obligations was largely on track. Some deliverables during the first quarter, particularly those requiring extensive stakeholder consultation and net-led processes, were behind schedule, but we have since seen great improvement during Q2. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, having highlighted some lows and highs for Q3, I have placed an emphasis to the administration as led by the acting DG to give special attention and remedy weak provincial performance, immediately resolve the ICT challenges on the department and its entities, move speedily in filling all vacant positions that are funded, aligning the programs of the department and integrate the labor activation program for improved placement as per the labor market demands. Enforce consequence management where behavior undermines delivery and government prescripts. The Q2 financial performance of the Department of Employment and Labor shows that we are financially stable. We underspent on compensation of employees because funded vacancies remained unfilled. As mentioned earlier, we are now fast-tracking the filling of critical posts. Further, we are tightening cost containment on high-cost drivers, which has led to overspending on goods and services, and accelerating ICT and infrastructure projects, one block service delivery. The G20 showed that South Africa still commands global respect. Our task now is to prove that same credibility to the unemployed young person in Lusikisiki, the factory worker in Egoruleni, the farm worker in DR, and the informal trader in Kwamashu. Honorable Chairperson, as we engage this House today, South Africa is also observing the 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children. For us in the labor portfolio, gender-based violence is a labor market risk, an economic risk, and a productivity risk. We see it in absenteeism, in job losses, in trapped informal work, in unsafe working environments, and in the slow career progression of women. Through our inspection and enforcement services, our employment equity instruments, our UIF and compensation fund protections, and our workplace codes of good practice, by tightening enforcement against harassment, unsafe workplaces, and economic exclusion. Allow me to also place on record our pride in the successful hosting of the recent Africa Kaizen Conference Awards and the National Productivity Awards. Through the Kaizen program, enterprises across manufacturing, agriculture, logistics, health, and public services are demonstrating that small, continuous improvements drive big structural gains in output, in quality, in cost efficiency, and critically in job retention and job creation. The Productivity Awards showcase the real-world firms that are already turning waste into value, downtime into output, and inefficiency into competitiveness. 1 to 10 employment policy into economic recovery machinery. That is the test of this department, and it is the standard by which we welcome the Portfolio Committee's oversight and counsel. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable the Minister. We'll now get to the actual presentation, and the time, as I said, is allocated as such. And I'm sure at this point, the team would have sorted out how they approach that. And immediately after the presentations, we'll take up the discussion. I now hand back to yourselves in the way you would have planned to present within the time allocated.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, members of the Portfolio Committee and colleagues on the platform. And thank you, Minister, for setting the scene and also to appear before the committee as the department. I just want to quickly underscore that the engagement and the oversight by the Oversight Committee is very much appreciated, as your guidance sharpens our work and the scrutiny ensures that we stay aligned to the commitments to make the public and the mandate entrusted to us as the Department of Employment and Labor. In terms of our work continues to be anchored around the MTDP priorities 2025 to 2030, particularly to push the drive for inclusive growth and job creation, reduction in high cost of living, and strengthen a capable and ethical state. The priorities that we'll be discussing for the 2 quarters are reinforced through our integrated strategic plan and our APP, and they guide every program across the department, shape how we support workers, regulate the labor market, and how we reinforce compliance, and how we connect work seekers to opportunities. They also guide how we stabilize and strengthen our entities. Minister has comprehensively addressed the key areas in terms of the departmental's performance. I just want to indicate that in terms of how we're going to go about this, the respective DGs will respond to their programs and also respond to the challenges and indicate what is already in motion in terms of dealing with these challenges. With that being said, I just want to also underpin the point that the current financial year, we need to really close the performance gap, sharpen the implementation, improve expenditure discipline, stabilize SEE and service delivery in all 9 provinces. With that being said, I will hand over to the colleagues who will then take us through comprehensively through the presentation and mindful of the time frame. Thank you, Chairperson. I'll hand over to the team. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson. Good morning to the Honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, to the Honorable Minister of the Department of Employment and Labour and the Deputy Ministers, to the Acting DG who is leading our delegation from the department, to the DDGs and the senior colleagues that are on the platform. Mine, Honorable Chairperson, is to just explain how the flow of the presentation is going to work. And I will request that in the interest of time that Ms. Matapelo beam quarter 2, I will explain why we have to beam quarter 2. For the sake of preserving my bandwidth, Chairperson, I will request that I switch off my mic. I switch off my video. My apologies for that.
Yes, you're permitted to switch off and proceed. Thank you.
And thank you, Chairperson. The presentation is going to flow in this manner. The Minister, Honorable Minister, has just given an overview of the departmental performance, and which is not dismal at this point. And then we will have a program 1, which is led by DDG Bahumi Matebesi, who unfortunately is on sick leave, and standing in for her will be Ms. Tebuho Tejane, who will take us through the progress achieved in program 1. Under program 2, we have DDG IES, the Inspector General, Ms. Ekimo Yilwa, who will take us through IES performance. For program 3, which is Public Employment Services, we have DDG Sam Morotoba. For program 4, we have acting DDG LP and IR, Mr. Tembinkosi Mkalipi. After which we will then have the financial presentation for both quarter 1 and quarter 2 by the CFO, Mr. Begi Maduna, after which then the SEE will come in with their semester report that covers both quarter 1 and quarter 2, as well as the financials for both quarters. The reason why, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, we are requesting that we entertain the quarter 2 report, it's because it is a reflection of both quarter 1 and quarter 2, because our targets are cumulative in nature. To save time for the Portfolio Committee, it would be more efficient if we were then to look at quarter 2 instead of quarter 1 and quarter 2 separately. I would like to thank you, Chairperson, for the opportunity.
Talk somebody.
Good morning.
Program 1.
Good morning, Minister. Good morning, Honorable Chair, Honorable members and colleagues, DG on the platform. Chairperson, my name is Tebo Hotejani. I'm trying to activate my camera, but I'm battling. It says unable to use camera chair. My apologies for that. I keep on trying, but it's refusing. But I do have a profile pic as well on my profile for proof of life. Chair, may I proceed for
Yes,
corporate
can proceed.
services? Thank you, Chair. For corporate services, Chair, which is administration, the minister has given a clear overview in terms of the areas of underachievement, specifically under corporate services or administration. If, Chair, you look at slide 16 as well as slide 17, they give an overview of how we've actually fared as corporate services, excuse me, in terms of underachievement. Specifically, Chair, to move fast, it's under ICT on digital information life cycle. We've only achieved 30% of project plan for digital transformation, which basically indicates, Chair, that we had some challenges in terms of delays, in terms of finalizing our inputs on business case, business units. Also, the issues related to escalations, which were delayed to the ICT Steering Committee for execution of oversight on fundization of specific requirements. Also, issues relating to development to catch up on schedule for compressed timelines, Chair. We may move to the next one, which talks to vacancies, Chair. In terms of vacancies, we had a total of 293 posts, and we could only advertise 95% of those, Chair. Our reasons for underachievement, as indicated, Chair, we did experience some a high volume increase in terms of the workload vis-a-vis the human resource capital that we had, albeit we did everything that we could do, but we still fell short in terms of that. And we also wanted to push our flagship project in terms of augmenting the IES in terms of project 20K. So we also did accelerate our efforts in terms of meeting our targets and also strengthening our monitoring of filling of vacancies, Chair. On the issue of finance, which is also under administration, Chair, it relates to the payments of invoices, specifically in terms of treasury regulations and guidelines of paying within 30 days. Unfortunately, Chair, during this quarter, we had a total of 1,693 invoices that were received. However, we managed to process 97.70% within 30 days, which is 1,654. Our system logis, Chair, gave us some challenges in terms of us processing the bulk of payments within 30 days, which is our threshold. And some of our colleagues also failed to submit invoices promptly, Chair, to process them within the specified time frame. Albeit there were colleagues that experienced challenges, Chair, we could not, or there was no need to also implement consequence management because it was more systemic or systems challenge, Chair. These issues relating to the payments, it's found in slide 27, Chair, but I'll talk to it later. But in terms of our achievement, Chair, which I want to hasten to, if we could go to slide 18, Ms. Mataboge, in terms of our achievement, in terms of our, excuse me, CIS project, a control project plan that was supposed to be implemented in Q2, Chair, we've achieved everything that we needed to do. We just had a one-on-one of CIS control that needed to be implemented. We've implemented that. Therefore, Chair, in terms of our remedial, we've got, we still have inadequate resources for full research. However, we're doing everything to achieve that. So that's basically our achievement. We're going to go to slide 19, Mataboge, to deal with another achievement. Yes, Chair, I've already dispensed of vacancy, but on point number 4, output indicator number 4, in terms of SMS positions occupied by women per annum, we have 48% target for women to occupy those positions, Chair. We are sitting at 50.4%, which is 69 out of 137 SMS posts occupied by women as at September 2025. Chair, there are no challenges there, so that's an achievement. We'll keep on improving on that so that we have a balanced management level in terms of gender. We may move to slide 20, Mataboge. On slide 20, Chair, the first one, which is output relating to percentage of consequence management under our ER, relating to misconduct that needs to be finalized. Chair, we've achieved our target. It's 80% of cases finalized within 90 days of receipt. We are sitting at 88%, which is 21 out of 24 cases finalized within 90 days. Here, Chair, in terms of our reasons for variance, less complicated cases were received. So there was no challenges as we normally have in terms of having to explain a lot of other aspects relating to this. So, Chair, on output indicator 6, in relation to percentage of milestones on the project plan for Dell reconfiguration, including the unbundling of our funds, the UIF and the compensation fund. We have achieved, you'll notice in quarter 2, our target is 30% milestone for A on the projected project plan implemented. We are sitting at 62%, Chair, which basically means that 5 out of 8 milestones have been achieved, and we've tabulated them there, which is your bills submitted to the OCL, Office of the Chief State Law Advisor. We also dealt with consultation of QUED and UIF Act bills at NEDLAC, onboarding of DPSA to project, onboarding of GTEC for phase 2, as well as CS consultation with National Treasury. Chair, we are happy with that achievement. In terms of our remedial, just to indicate, we will be reviewing some of the things. Chair, on output 8, percentage of procurement spent to enterprises owned by women, youth, and people with disabilities, we have achieved in terms of our target being 30% women, 20% youth, 3% people with disabilities. You'll notice, Chair, we are sitting at 41.2% spent on enterprises owned by women and at 22.4% spent on enterprises owned by youth and 23.7% spent on enterprises owned by people with disabilities. Chair, we are moving fine with this. There's no challenges there. On priority in output 9, sorry, Chair, number of communication activities. Chair, we had planned, this is a new APP output or indicator in our APP. Our target was 10 communication activities. As you might have noticed, Chair and honorable members, the department is a hive of activities, as the minister has indicated. So as we have projects that also come in, our target, our activities increased, and we've then overachieved a little bit in terms of our activities there. Chair, we are happy with that. We'll keep on improving further. Chair, if we can go to slide 20, slide on 22, that's what our percentage in terms of achievement has outlined. Here, Chair, we're really highlighting our key issues and progress in addressing the issues of vacancy rate, Chair. I think the minister has already indicated in terms of the interventions that we're engaging with DPSA circular in terms of discontinuation of the directive outlining control measures. So that is very helping us to really move with issues. In relation to the 293 vacant funded posts, all the posts that became vacant from 1st September 2024, those have already been advertised, Chair. On the audit findings, Chair, which are critical and important aspects for us, in terms of our investigations, we've finalized and we've approved, which was approved on 16 July 2025, and all actions and consequence management is instituted, Chair. So we are really adhering and confining ourselves to rules and regulations in ensuring that we achieve a good state of governance. On ICT, Chair, in terms of infrastructure, as I've indicated, in terms of progress, we've costed and reviewed our ICT strategy to make sure that the funds are requisite with the outputs that are outlined in our strategy. We've also dealt with issues of internet link upgrades to increase access for ease of doing business and engaging with our stakeholders. And also the 16 sites which we identified for bandwidth were increased from 4 megabytes to 10 megabytes when this was completed. Issues relating to DBEC, where we adjudicate for procurement, Chair, that has been approved to upgrade to a minimum of 10 MB, so we are happy with that. And also our cloud strategy has been finalized, Chair, which will give us a competitive edge to really do what we need to do in creating a better environment for doing of business from an ICT platform. On ICT digitalization and cybersecurity strategies, we have workshopped through ICT governance structures, and we're hoping there will be continuous improvement. Mema Tabucha, I'm done on slide 24. Continue on ICT audit findings, especially those that were repeated, Chair. Our progress relates to reviewing the ICT governance and risk regulated framework. We are sitting a total of 75 of cybersecurity control in line with the National Institute of Standard and Technology. Framework has been implemented, Chair. We're gradually migrating our old and unsupported system to latest technology platforms. We are sitting at latest OS version of infrastructure. I think the the CIO will unpack that one, and it has been implemented. We are following up and complying to legislative framework when procuring ICT goods and services, and our information security related projects are being implemented using Microsoft Enterprise agreements in place to improve internal controls and prevention of further losses in this instance. And a holistic approach has been followed to conduct the review of ICT policies, processes, standards, and procedures, and we are investigating the cause, and we are correcting the discrepancies that have been identified, and we are also on a holistic review of software licenses required so that we can then conduct as our needs generally as the department, and also the redundant license have been terminated, Chair, which will help us to really get rid of our audit findings. On insufficient budget, as we've always alluded, Chair, the ICT strategy reviewed has already been approved and the budget has been adjusted. Documents relating to costed implementation plan for the revised ICT strategy is in place. Lobby for funding ICT infrastructure refresh and initiatives specifically on digitalization of our platforms, Chair, it is on course. Network bridge, Chair, in terms of security, we've implemented a multi-factor authentication, which is being rolled out with Microsoft. CSIR has also been appointed to conduct forensic investigation on cybersecurity breaches. We are implementing cybersecurity governance, Chair, and our data governance structure is also established. We developed a risk response plan, which has also gone through our risk unit and committee. We are implementing robust cybersecurity awareness throughout so that everyone is aware and aware of what needs to be done and what needs to be avoided and what's to be done when challenges come. We are instituting skills development through partnerships. We are also monitoring cybersecurity performance. That deals with slide 26. Here, really, Chair, that's where I indicated that it relates to ICT, not ICT finance in terms of invoices within 30 days. This is just a provincial breakdown, Chair, in terms of each province, in terms of how they fared. You will notice that the red areas are under Free State, Limpopo, Northern Cape, Western Cape, and head office, which really leaves that at 97.70% in terms of achievement overall, Chair. Thank you very much, Chairperson, for the opportunity to present Corporate Services branch. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Chairperson, Honorable Chair, and good morning to the Honorable Minister, honorable members, the acting DG and colleagues on the platform. Please allow me to switch off my camera, Chairperson, and I'm just going to continue.
Proceed.
Thank you. I'm going to start my presentation at slide number 29. If you can go there. I'll just pick on the salient features. That slide indicates the number of inspections that the target that we had for Q2. And as the acting DG indicated, our reporting is cumulative. We had a target of just over 149,000 inspections that we had to conduct throughout the country. We're able to achieve over 162,000, which is a 9% overachievement in terms of the work that we did in the conducting of inspections. If we go to the next slide, the next slide will be talking to the fact that we're able to issue out 99% of notices to workplaces that were found to be non-compliant. against a target of 95%. So we're able to overachieve by 4%. If we go to the next slide, the next slide is talking about indicator 3 there, the fact that in instances where notices were issued and the time span or the lifespan of the notice had expired, we then refer such cases for prosecution. Our target is 65%. We're able to achieve 78% and thus overperforming by 13%. And in terms of our last indicator, the number of advocacy sessions that we're able to conduct, our target, the annual target, I need to point out, is 6, and you're already sitting at 7 in terms of our achievement. If we go to the next slide, this slide is a depiction of indicator number 1, which talks to the number of inspections that were conducted. It's a breakdown in terms of provinces, and all the provinces were able to achieve their target. If we go to the next slide, this one is talking to, it's aligned to indicator number 2, the fact that we're able to issue out notices to 95% of the non-compliant workplaces. And again, all the provinces were able to achieve their target. If we go to the next slide. This slide is talking about our referral for prosecution. All the provinces were able to achieve their target, except the Western Cape. And Chairperson, in the last quarter, we had 2 provinces being unable to achieve this target. It was KZN and the Western Cape. And the KZN was able to turn the corner. The Western Cape is still at 36%. However, I need to point out that it is an improvement from 24% in the first quarter. So there's a 12% improvement. And the reason for the non-achievement is the fact that they've got vacancies. And I know that they're in the process of filling the post. It is at the stage of shortlisting. If you can go to the next slide. Honorable Chair, this slide shows us a comparative analysis of the 2 quarters per province. I had already alluded to KZN and Western Cape in terms of quarter 1. And as you can see, in quarter 2, all the provinces are at 100%, except for the Western Cape. If we go to the next slide. This slide is just talking to issues of key interest. On issues of non-compliance, we have picked up challenges with regards to working with the NPA. The Occupational Health and Safety Act is prosecuted criminally, and we therefore rely on the NPA to assist us in that regard. We picked up that there were inconsistencies across various provinces, and for us to be able to deal with this, we had made attempts to meet with the NPA at a national level, whilst also interacting with the NPA at a local level. So this part, the first part, is talking about that, because for us to be able to prosecute successfully, we rely on enforcement agencies in the NPA, also in CCMA and the Labour Court. But the challenges that we had in this regard in particular were with the NPA, and those challenges are still existing. However, we are working with the NPA to iron those out. In terms of police inspections to curb employment of illegal or undocumented foreign nationals, we conduct high-impact blitz inspections in sectors that we deem to be problematic and high risk. We've done that in sectors such as the hospitality or with the textile sector, as well as construction. And as we, even this week, we're busy with high impact blitz inspections. So this is a continuous program. And the next slide. We want to reflect on capacity challenges, particularly in the enforcement of Employment Equity Act, where we remain under-resourced. It's something that we've been grappling with for quite a while, and we try our best to push in that regard. The permanent solution will be if we can get the permanent employment equity inspectors appointed, it will alleviate the challenges that we have. In terms of audit findings, the branch continues to receive a clean audit report. A case in point will be financial year 2024-2025, where we had no material findings and an unqualified report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Milik. Chairperson, through you, if I can switch off my camera, my picture profile is also there. Greetings to yourself, Chairperson, honorable members, our Minister, DG, and colleagues. Slide number 39 reflects the current employment context. If I can take an example of Limpopo, we track every time when the quarterly labor force survey is released, the number of employed people in Limpopo, which is 1.5 million, the unemployed sitting at 659,000, the unemployment rate at 29%, and the population in the province and the GDP contribution. So this is done so that we are able to be consistently aware of the problem that we are dealing with, and it is updated quarterly. The next slide depicts slide number 40. PES performed at 75%. The reason being the challenges alluded by the Minister on the system. And as a contingency, we have reverted back to the old system and have escalated the matter to the CIO to invoke penalties. And we are monitoring closely the question of fixing of the defects between as from the 1st of April to the 31st of March, so that if the commitments that have been made are not realized, that immediately the CIO takes measures to either get the service provider to give us the right people or to consider terminating. The only challenge is that they are providing the system or support not only to PES but to the entire department, and a decision taken in this regard will have to be in that context. The next slide indicates the area where we have not achieved. We just managed to register 492 against the target of 500,000. We managed to register quite a number of opportunities, 170,000 against a target of 60,000. On the counseling services, next slide, we managed to register 162,000 against a target of 140. And on the opportunities field, next slide, Matape. Yes, we managed to register about 55,700 against a target of
35,000 in terms of placement, despite the challenges in the system. And in both areas, we are assisted currently by more than 324,000. The target that we have, or the assistance we got from the presidency, is 450, and we are doing our best to fill the remaining intern opportunities, because we believe that they are doing or performing an important role. These interns are with us for a 2-year period, and some are beginning to be absorbed when positions arise, and we are in discussion with the National Treasury to see how best they can increase our capacity by considering giving us this allocation permanently, so that we can absorb these numbers of people. The other, next slide, gives you the, I'm on slide number 43, if you can move on. Yes. The other 4 indicators are not due for reporting. However, in terms of progress, we have already conducted 5 job fairs across the provinces, and every labor center, as part of our Yazin campaign, continue to organize each Friday their small mini fair with the local employers as part of our marketing campaign. So we have no doubt that we will achieve that target in the remaining 4 months, because we are making progress. On the policy side, we have already completed the process on the National Employment Policy, and we are concluding a process of the certifications, and we'll be going to the clusters. And we hope that by Q4, we would have managed to get to cabinet. On the agreements, whilst it is due on Q4, we have a target of 5. 3 major agreements have already been concluded that are being utilized to recruit a large number of young people, not only in the department, but in partners that we work with, such as Harambee. And we are confident that the 2 that are under negotiations should be concluded soon. And the last one, on the policy framework for coordination of employment, we have already concluded that work as well. We have had a national dialogue with government departments, and we have submitted the policy to the presidency to do the socio-economic impact analysis. And as soon as we receive the certificate, it will also be going to cabinet for approval. Slide number 44 just gives you an indication of the area that we did not perform well, and indicating the Eastern Cape, Gauteng, and the Western Cape. And these are attributed to vacancies that we have. I won't go through the rest, but just to highlight on slide number 45, to give you a picture that the majority of people who are already on our system, about 6.4 million, you see that Africans constitute 78%, and the others percentages are indicated there at 8%, and Indians at around that percentage, 13. The only area that we are still struggling to clean up is in the area of the not assigned. This is where people choose to skip the block that indicates the race group, and that's why you have the not assigned. The rest of the slides indicate the provincial breakdown and the categories. I will go straight to slide number if you can go to slide number 45, again is the provincial breakdown. If you can go to slide number 48. Slide number 48 gives you the kind of opportunities that we normally register. And if you can skip the rest of the slides, because I believe members have received the presentation, and go to slide number 53, because those give you slide number 53. Now, in line with today's theme and this month around the Disability Month, we also give you a sense in terms of the picture of the number of people with disability and the kind of disabilities that register with our system. And the interventions that we have are twofold from the PES side. The one area is the supported employment enterprises, where we transfer funding to as part of our chief directorate. The second one is with the 21 organizations that we provide subsidies of about 1,500 to each individual participant who participate in this program. The Department of Social Development continues to pay their grants, and the organizations augment these two amounts with the proceeds coming from the sales of products. And in the recent conference held by the Social Development on moving from grants to employment, we showcased both SEE and these organizations, and we received an overwhelming support, because social development believes that this is the route that we should be going to alleviate the pressures on the social grant system. There's also a discussion on the RSD grant for those people who are above 18 but are before the age of 60 years that are currently receiving this grant, that we need to find interventions that will make sure that they also participate actively in some form of employment, so that we alleviate pressures on the social grant system. And social development, both Minister Dolashe and Ms. Sikunga, and working with our minister, we are hoping that we can join hands in making sure that people who are affected by various disability get therapeutic employment and are not left behind. I'll stop there, Chairperson, and allow Dr. Mkalipi to continue. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Minister, the colleagues and honorable members. Next slide, please. Our presentation is going to be very short. The Minister has already indicated that we have been able to perform at 100% in both quarters. Next slide, please. And the first area also we've got in this quarter two, we had 3 targets that we had needed to achieve. One, dealing with the restoration of trade unions and employer organization. In that period, we dealt with 38 organizations, and in that 38, 4 of them were refused registration and 34 were approved. The next area that we had to deliver on in this quarter 2 was one research report that needed to be completed by the 30th of September, and we completed a research report on the platform economy. The next slide, please, with the last target. The next target area that we needed to do it, publishing of market trend reports by 30th September. And in this case, we plan to publish 2 reports. One, the annual report on 2 annual report produced and submitted by August, one on the labor market bulletin that was produced and submitted covering the year 2024-25, and the second report that we produced and published by the 30th of September with the job opportunity and unemployment in the South African labor market. Those were the 3 targets that we needed to comply with in the second quarter, Chair, and that's my report. Thank you very much.
CE, you are taking your time. And your CFO, there's 20 minutes left. CFO and SE.
No, thank you. Good morning, honorable members, Minister, Acting DG, colleagues. I am gonna take you through the finances of the department for the performance that have just been presented. I'm just gonna switch off my video. In terms of the quarter 2 performance, out of the budget of 4.153 billion for quarter 2, the expenditure was sitting at 47%, with administration at 49%, IES at 45%, public employment services at 40%. And labor policy and internal relations at 47%. The next slide is the same information, but based on the economic classification, which indicates that current payments, which is compensation of employees and goods and services, we're sitting at 49%, expenditure year to date, transfers and subsidies at 46%, payment for capital assets, which is the projects that we have as a department, including the ones that we undertake, public works and infrastructure does for our building. We're sitting at 19%, which indicates a slow spending on those projects. Overall, the spending is at 47%. The next slide, I think, is just the explanatory note on the expenditure, which indicates that the 44% compensation of employees, the expenditure for compensation of employees was sitting at 44%. At quarter 2, we are sitting at 50%. That means there's a 6% underspending there. Goods and services at 59%. Together, they make the current payments, which then means that we are underspending on compensation of employees, but overspending on goods and services for year to date. For the second quarter, sitting at 59%. Transfers and subsidies at 46%. This one is as a result of the GTEC, the transfer which has not taken place as at quarter 2. And the 19% capital expenditure, as I indicated, is the major one was the procurement of laptop, which has not commenced, together with the delays in the infrastructural projects that we undertake together with public works. I think I've emphasized this point of the compensation of employees on current payments and goods and services at 59%. The next slide is the information that specifically relates to a quarter. The budget for quarter two was just about 1,081 billion, and the expenditure was 1,171 billion, which then indicates that for quarter two specifically, where we have overspent by 8% with the various programs at varying percentages there. Next slide. The same information, but in terms of economic classification for quarter two, current payments at 142% just for the quarter. Previous slide. At 42%, 142% just for the quarter. Transfers and subsidies at 76. This one, there shouldn't be so much concern because the expenditure is as per the MOUs that we signed with the entities. So depending whether we transfer quarterly or per semester, but that's the expenditure that we have transferred to the entities. And for the quarter on payment for capital assets, we're sitting at 20%. The expenditure is quite low there. And in terms of payment for financial assets, which are theft and losses, we have recorded 11,000 on payment for capital assets. Next slide. The same information in terms of looking at the on current payments just for the quarter. Compensation of employees at 144% for the quarter, and goods and services at 136% for the quarter. That means for the quarter on both items we have overspent. Next slide. These are just the transfers and subsidies to our public entities, the ones that are coming through the program Public Employment Services. Designated groups, Supported Employment Factories, Productivity SA, UIF. UIF, we have just kept it there with 1,000 rand, just to keep the line active, the line open in case there is a need for funding through fiscals. At the moment, UIF is well funded, so there's currently no need, but we're advised that we need to keep that line open in case the need arises. Compensation fund is also sitting under Public Employment Services, but for compensation of employees is the money that is put aside for injuries to public servants, except the service officials. That's the expenditure. The total expenditure there of the budget of 13.2 million, and we have thus far expensed the 11.4 million, which equals to 87%. GTEC, as I indicated, the transfer has not taken place, and the GTEC, that 45 million has been transferred already. The next slide will talk to entities that are residing under labor policy and industrial relations. Our affiliation to International Labour Organization of 23.6, which has not been expensed at quarter two. ARLAC, also 1.8 million, which has not been expensed under this program. Civil strengthening of civil society, the expenditure is sitting at 59%. CCMA, the expenditure is sitting at exactly 50%, which I think is transferred per quarter. And NETLAC is sitting at 82%. Overall, the transfers and subsidies under LP and IR are sitting at 51%. Also under transfers, the transfers to provinces and municipalities is for the licensing of our motor vehicles. The expenditure is sitting at 50%. I think that concludes the finance presentation for the department. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO. SEE, can you come in? Thank you. Rachel.
Thank you, DG. Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning, honorable members. Good morning, Minister and fellow colleagues. I'm going to take you through SEE performance for the 2 quarters. If you can go to the next slide. This slide shows our comparative analysis for both quarters, quarter 1 and quarter 2, where in the first quarter we had 2 targets. We achieved 1. And in the second quarter, we had 4 targets, we achieved 2. Overall is a 50% achievement for both quarters. Next slide. This slide shows in the first quarter which indicators we had. We had 1 indicator which was talking to employing 100 persons with disabilities. Our target was to employ 25. We couldn't do that given the fact that we didn't have sufficient sales orders to enable us to create job opportunities for our PWDs. And the only target that we achieved was a marketing and communication campaign that we are implementing in this financial year just to create awareness around the business and its product offering. So we had a target of achieving 1 campaign. We did that in the first quarter. Next slide. Yeah, this slide just shows the number of employees that we have across all the factories for the first quarter. So you will see that this number is not changing. It only changed by 1 when you compare it to the second quarter. Can you go to the next slide? And this slide shows the equity representation across all the factories. You're going to see that even in the second quarter, the numbers don't change because of the fact that we are not employing at this stage. Next slide. So this slide shows the targets that we had in the second quarter, wherein we had 4 targets. We were able to achieve 2 with the overall achievement of 50%. Again, in terms of employing persons with disability, now in the second quarter, this is a cumulative number. In the first quarter was 25, now in the second quarter is 50. But the same challenges restricted us or constrained us from employing further persons with disabilities. We had the target wherein we had to sign 2 customer agreements. The target was achieved. Next slide. The next target in the second quarter was the number of campaigns, communication and marketing campaigns. We had 2. We were able to do that. And the last one with the target wherein we were supposed to at least reduce the audit finding, the audit paragraphs by 50%. We were unable to do that because with the work that we did, the review that we got from the auditors was that the work was not sufficient to address some of the challenges or the findings that they have identified. So what we are doing, we are engaging with them, both the internal audit and the Auditor General, to review our audit action plan and to assist us in making sure that the audit action plan that we formulated is able to address the root causes of the audit finding and to prevent reoccurrence of those audit findings. Next slide. As I indicated, this slide, you'll just see that the difference is only 1 PWD from 987 to 988. So it's not much because it's way below the target that we intended to achieve in this, which was 50. The next slide. again, on equity progress report, it remained as it was in the first quarter, so there's no movement in this one. Go to next slide. So here we're just trying to summarize the challenges that we're facing, that we don't have enough order pipeline that will result in our PWDs being active in the factories and increasing the sales revenue. So we're saying that at this point in time, the factories are operating at around 30% utilization capacity, which is not enough because for us to be making a dent into addressing some of our challenges, we need to make sure that we have orders and our PWDs in the factories are active. So this is a challenge that we are facing, but there are interventions which are in place, which we are implementing. The other challenge that we have is, though with these interventions, there are leads that we establish. It's difficult to convert these leads into tangible orders because people come, they see what we do, they're interested. But when it comes to them placing orders, we have some of the challenges because of that one might say part of them as a result of the entity, how it is structured, our legal autonomy, because at some stage you have customers, some of the customers asking that though they are interested in doing business with us, what they see when we have to do this, they see the department. So they're asking a question, how are we linked to the department? Are we existing? Are we a legitimate entity that exists? So it's that legal autonomy challenge that we are facing when we have to do this. So, but there are interventions in place just to try to work around dealing with the legal autonomy of the business going forward. So here we're just highlighting that from our product offering, from the workshops that we have, the textile workshop is the one that is busy, that is keeping us afloat. The woodwork workshop, it has been inactive for quite a number of years because we're not getting any sales orders that are coming our way on this one. So the interventions that are in place are trying to make sure that we develop leads and then we convert them into memorandum of agreements and into tangible sales orders just to close that gap. And in terms of the audit, we had serious challenges with regard to our audit findings, which I've indicated the fact that the audit action plan that we have developed now is trying to address that. We are working closely with both the internal audit and the Auditor General to refine the audit action plan just to ensure that it's able to deal with the root causes of the audit findings and prevent the reoccurrence of those findings. The next slide. These are some of the measures in place to deal with the challenges that we are facing. So here we're saying pursue activation of MOU into active orders. Like I said, some of the challenges that we're having as an entity restricting or preventing us from converting this agreement into tangible sales agreements because along the way you get questions around our identity as SEE. We need to ensure that we convert whatever that we have, deal with the challenges and convert this into orders so that we can start making a dent into the deficit that we are operating at the moment. You will see when we get to the finances. And we are planning to conduct a number of workshops across the factories with emphasis on improving the efficiencies. So we're doing this working hand in hand with Productivity SA that is implementing some of the turnaround initiatives which are aimed at improving efficiencies in our operations. The next slide. Yeah, here, apology for the CFO is off sick, so hence I'm going to take you through that. The financial situation of the entity are not looking good. First of all, we have a challenge with regard to the system that we are using right now. As you would see on the financials, we are only able to retrieve information up until August, which is the second month of the second quarter. The last month, due to the CISPRO challenges, we were unable to retrieve that information, which is the problem that it's being attended to. We are engaging closely with the department with regard to addressing that. But the bottom line is that when you look at our finances, they're not painting a good picture. They are not painting a good picture at all. Because if you look at the first two aspects, our sales, the revenue that we get from sales and how much it costs us to actually sell or manufacture products and sell them, you can just see the margins are very low. So, for instance, in the month of August, if you look at that figure from 18 million that you get as a revenue, and then you have to pay out 18.59, you remain with 745. And the challenge here is the challenge that we are having internally with regard to the costing and pricing methodology, which talks to the fact that some of the items that we are producing, we are selling them at a loss because of the fact that for us to go and source our raw materials, we have to comply with the legislative prescripts. And when we have to go out there and compete, we find ourselves having to price ourselves out of the market. Otherwise, no one is going to buy from us. So we end up having to buy goods and services from the middlemen who add their own margins. And it's one of the challenges that we are experiencing, and hence one of the interventions was to apply for exemption from the National Treasury, for which we're still waiting for that response. So when you look at the gross profit there, you'll see that we are operating at a deficit of 30 million. So without the grant that we get from government, that means we don't have what it takes to run a business at all, because the reliance is on that grant, which we can say it takes the administration staff, which is in the next slide. It takes around 75 to 80% of the grant that we receive from the state. So it's a situation that is not sustainable, because at least the business should be at a point where, although they get the grant to run operation of the enterprise, the sales should augment that and give us that leeway for us to expand and look at other product offering for a business to be sustainable. So we are hoping that the interventions that are being implemented by Productivity SA, amongst others, which looks at developing the org structure fit for purpose for SEE, and developing a pricing and costing methodology that will enable us to have a right pricing for our products to avoid selling at a loss. We're hoping that the implementation of those will change the fortune of the business going forward. So next slide. Yeah, that's about it, which is the story around the challenges that we are facing. We're saying there's still a lot of work to be done. We are implementing some of the interventions while we are working on the finalization of the legal autonomy of the entity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CO. And I can now hand over to the chairperson. I just want to quickly make the point, chairperson. I won't be long. Just to indicate that we are looking at really dealing with these challenges head on, including the accelerated recruitment process to stabilize the operations, and also getting the digital and system improvement to strengthen the quality of the data and reduce reporting errors, and also have stronger collaboration with other departments and stakeholders to widen their employment pathways. And lastly, to making sure that we stabilize this critical entity, which is SEE, by focusing on production planning, cost controls, market access, and also tighten financial oversight, including working collaboratively with other departments. Thank you very much, Chair. I can hand over to you. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Honorable Minister ATG and your team, including SEE, for the presentations. I will, without a waste of time, look at those members who would want to participate in a discussion by asking questions, comments, and so on. So if you can raise your hands so that I note you. The committee support will also assist me if I don't see a hand. I see one. Honorable Maetso, Honorable Mukwili. Those are the two I have for now. To save time, let's proceed to the Honorable Basson. Let's proceed to ask questions. Honorable Maetso, you are recognized. And number one can proceed in the meantime.
No, thank you, Chair. And let me greet the Minister, the acting DG, as well as the officials from the department and entities, honorable members of the committee, and fellow South Africans. Chair, we welcome this presentation with a note that we must commend the achievement, especially of the Department of Employment and Labor in the first quarter. Obviously, the challenges that are highlighted in the very same presentation must also have the need to critically strengthen the operational efficiency, capacity, and the resource management. Actually, also to tighten and also strengthen the internal controls in the main. And furthermore, Chair, we have also observed in terms of the financial performance in the first quarter, which the reports indicates a prudent budget management, but yet reveals the areas that needs the attention. And moving onward, Chair, we have also noted that there are some key areas, particularly on compensation of the employees, where you only see the expenditure, and this is in the financial performance, of 13% expended, and the infrastructure projects, which suggest inefficiency in stemming from vacant positions and delays in procurement and infrastructure development. Now, Chair, the other area again of concern is in relation to also the service providers that are also working within the department in trying to help the department to improve the ICT, the systems that they will then help even the interns that are absorbed by the department to help the department in the administration branch of the department to ensure that there is a smooth running of the administration. Yet the service providers seem to be struggling and having some challenges despite department lending an olive hand to the service provider to assist the service provider to improve in ensuring that there should be a smooth process when it comes to the administration of the intakes of the people, like your interns, skills development, and so forth and so forth. In terms of program 3 that was presented here. And Chair, I want to ask the department, what is the SLA saying and how the SLA kicks in when the department has assisted the service provider, but the service provider is not improving in terms of the service that they are supposed to render to the department? That's the first question. And then the second question, which I will therefore ask, is that what are the specific strategies is Department of Employment and Labor implementing to address the capacity constraints and long-standing vacancies in statutory services, particularly in provinces like KZN, to improve the timely processing of employment, placement, and employer compliance? The second question that emanates from the very same presentation will be, how does the department plan to enhance its data management and system integration, such as the Dipetuho system that I made my first question on, that to ensure timely and accurate reporting of employment placements and compliance activities across all provinces? And Chair, I think that that's the second last question that on the department, given the challenges faced in service delivery and capacity, what monitoring and evaluation mechanism are being strengthened to ensure proactive identification of underperformance and timely corrective action in future quarters? Now, Chair, moving quickly to the quarter 2 performance report of 2025-2026. The department again here demonstrates generally a positive trajectory, but yet with an overall achievement rate of 80% across its branches. Now, Chair, here there is a very noticeable aspect when it comes to the inspections and enforcement services branch, which achieved a perfect score, that of 100%, and we're commending the department in this regard. And that clearly shows that there is an effective implementation of its mandated activities, particularly in monitoring compliance and safeguarding workers' rights. The questions, therefore, that will therefore emanate from this one, it will be, what are the specific strategies and targeted interventions are being implemented to improve the performance and resource capacity of the public employment service branch, given its under-achievement in quarter 2? The second question on this one is, how does the department plan to address the performance gap observed in the Office of the Director General to enhance strategic coordination and oversight across all branches? And the third last question emanating from the presentation, this presentation will be, what measures are in place to ensure that underperforming branches, such as the public employment services, can meet their targets in subsequent quarters, particularly concerning employment facilitation and service delivery? As I move quick, Chair, to support an employment enterprises, SEE, quarter 1 and quarter 2, which the analyses are very clear in terms of the performance across quarter 1 and 2 of the financial year 2025. That's here there is a noticeable aspect that has been some progress in specific areas. Obviously, significant gaps remain in achieving the entity's overall strategic objectives. And Chair, only one marketing campaign here was conducted against the planned for, and employment targets for persons with disability were not met. And that's an area for concern, obviously, with zero employment recorded. So, Chair, you can't, honestly speaking, accept this type of a report, particularly when we, a day or, no, yesterday, we were having a motion of debate when it comes to people living with a disability. And the minister, I vividly remember vividly that the minister even proposed that we should, as parliament, have a day where we are going to celebrate and as well honor the people with disability, where parliament must also dedicate and commit a whole day of the discussion to the people living with disability. Yet, as the Department of Employment and Labor, we are not even trying to progress to see whether these people living with disability are also considered as normal human beings when it comes to employment. And I want to urge and call on the minister to please prioritize this particular one. Therefore, the questions that will emanate, Chair, in terms of this presentation is that how does the SEE plan to accelerate the conversation of memorandum of understandings into active orders to enhance sales revenue and operational sustainability in upcoming quarters? The second question will be what targeted capacity building initiatives are in place to improve internal audit process and address capacity constraints within the finance function of this entity. And Chair, the last question will be, how will the SEE ensure the employment of persons with disability aligns with the organizational goals, and what mechanisms are being introduced to actively source and retain such talent, since we have a number of entities that are on board that are doing wonderful work to help and assist these people living with disability. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Heads. Honorable Mukwili, you are recognized. Can proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and greetings to the Minister, my colleagues, members of this portfolio, and representation from the department. Again, ke nna Tebogo Mokwele, ke romilwe ke mokgatlo wa Economic Freedom Fighters in this committee. First, Chair, I would like to applaud the Economic Freedom Fighters in their successful march that was embarked last week to the Constitutional Court in the matter that concerns the President and the Phala issue. We are serious in terms of holding executive accountable, and those that are being corrupt must face the acts of the law. So I applaud the organizers of that march. It was a very successful and a peaceful march. Chairperson, you know, any plan or activity that does not have a plan or to create jobs, especially sustainable jobs, is a useless plan. It doesn't matter how much money is being allocated for that plan. If ever that plan is not executed effectively and making sure that the most vulnerable society, the most young people that are unemployed, sitting at home, find a job. My apologies, Chair. Find jobs. So it doesn't matter, Chair, how much percentage of compliance is being reported before us. It doesn't matter the percentage, whether you have achieved 90% or 100%, for as long as that thing doesn't result in job creation, is a useless activity. So we need, like I said before, I'm saying it again, we need to have a systematic change or transformation that will make sure that when we hold executive accountable, we don't just look into the numbers and the money spent, but we look into the work that has been put, that has substance, that can be resulting in positive result to our people. That is job, because our department is employment and labor. Chair, I've got few questions that I want to place to the directors and deputy directors. I want to check whether the department has the plan on how to stop financial inefficiency and ensure that the budget that is being spent is spent responsibly. On issue of financial management, how many officials are facing consequence management? We know that there are some inefficiency or mismanagement of funds and allegations. So I want to check with the department as to how many so far are now facing the consequence management as per the audit outcome and the recommendation of the AG. Chair, there was a time when I was complaining about the number of officials traveling to Parliament for our portfolio sitting, and the Deputy Minister Sibia said each and every person that comes with them, they have responsibilities to do. But now, when you look into the budget and the spending, you check that within 6 months, almost 149 million have been spent for traveling claims and subsistence allowances. Yet the actual job of service delivery in each and every program, there's a under performance in each and every program that is there. So I want to check, Jorge, how can we have so much travel and subsistence allowances that within 6 months that equate to 149 million. On SEE, Chair, I'm worried. One, I'm worried that they don't put effort into making sure that people living with disabilities are taken serious. Number two, they don't put effort into marketing to make sure that the clients that they attract are the clients that will bring value for money. So my question to them is that do they have a strategy that they can implement? And that strategy, when they implement it, will it make sure that it attracts positive clients so that we have value for money, Chair? My last question, Chairperson, it's on enforcement, inspection and enforcement. You know, I applaud the Deputy Minister Sibia every time I see him going to companies, exposing irregularities that are in the companies and making sure that those that are found to be in contravening with the law are facing the mind of the law. But now the numbers in terms of inspection are more. but consequence management or enforcement is less. So I want to check with the unit to say why is our enforcement numbers being low, and then when you check the inspections, they are more. What is it that we are not doing right in that? Enforcement, inspection and enforcement is the key unit within the department that makes sure that we hold companies that are not compliant accountable. So if we lack, we are going to have a problem. And also the issue of permanent equity inspectors. When are we going to address the matter of permanent equity inspectors? Because most of the companies that are found, I will emphasize that, because the report tells us that Western Cape is not compliant. Most of the companies that are found not to be compliant are found in the Western Cape. And if you check, I'm not a racist, but we need to tell the truth as it is. When you check, those companies are predominantly owned by white people. So what is it that the department is going to do to address this matter of equity inspectors? And how soon will it be, so that academic qualification, they are still lacking, but the work what is it that you are doing to capacitate them and to give them the morale? Because now they feel like they have reached the ceiling because they don't have the requisite qualifications in terms of academic, but in terms of experience, they've got that experience. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Nkul. Honorable Person, you are recognized. You can proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, my question is also regarding the Employment Equity Act. This act is looking very good on paper, but even in our oversight, we saw clearly that this act is not being put into practice, and we do not have enough officers enforcing this act. When we look at our employment equity, 90% of our employment is African. Where is the coloureds? Where is the whites? Especially in our municipalities as well. Our municipalities are dominantly African. There's very little white to no coloureds working in our municipalities. The past 3 weeks, the complaints being received by my office is from coloured communities on the winelands here in Cape Town being denied job opportunities. We need to enforce our Employment Equity Act. We cannot have meeting after meeting after meeting where there's 2 to 0.27% of coloureds being employed. That is not fair. Coloureds are being classified as African as well. Yet when it comes to employment, they are not classified as African. They are below Indians on the employment list. Then the other issue as well is people with disability. Very little businesses allows for people with disability. And when we query this, we hear the questions, but they didn't apply. Now that is unacceptable, unacceptable. You want to tell me out of 100 million people, 60% that with unemployment doesn't apply for jobs? That is ridiculous. Then we need to lower the criteria for people with disabilities so we can absorb these people into our workforce. Then another question is our spending. I don't know if there was a separate report sent for spending, because I'm struggling to see where we are underspending. I don't think I received that report. If we can please have a look at that. On the farms, our white-owned farms is treating the employees terrible, terrible, terrible. When we send Department of Labour, they say, but it's a CCMA matter. To get the CCMA to go is nearly impossible. The last week, I've been struggling to phone the CCMA office in Cape Town. Their phone number is not working. So how must people from the public engage with the CCMA if the telephone is not even working? We are looking at these reports and we are achieving. But the compliance on the grounds does not mirror this report. This report is a smokescreen, and I'm sorry, I do not take this report as the true value. It is not, because if this report was the reality on the ground, the complaints coming to our offices will not be there. This report is a make-believe by this department to show that it's achieving. And I'm sorry, I disagree with this report and I will not adopt this report. This report is smoke and mirrors. It is not the true reality of what is happening. White people are still closing the doors to African and coloreds. African entities are closing the doors to whites and coloreds. We have a racial problem in our workforce. We do not have an employment equity law that is sufficient, beneficial, and working for all races. We need to get this to a debate. We need to up the amount of colored peoples that is employed in our society. These people has been left at the door for so many years. It is time to recognize them as well. I thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Person. Last one, Honorable Ansele. I saw your hand. I didn't see your hand, Honorable Mbele. But as I speak to this, I'm also send a message by the committee support so that I don't leave this. Honorable Shezi would have sent the apology whilst we are proceeding. That is actually not well and would not be able to get to connect to the meeting. So we'll just add that in the apologies for record. As I say, Honorable Mbele, I didn't see your hand. You can proceed. Honorable Mbele, can unmute and proceed, and Honorable Nzele will be last.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm so sorry, I'm not feeling well at all. That means I won't be very much effective. Let me greet the minister, and all other ministers, if maybe they are here, the deputy ministers, and then the chairperson, the members of the portfolio, my colleagues, and also the officials, the senior officials. Yes, yeah, mine is not that much. Actually, what I wanted to raise, probably, Chairperson, is the issue of, yes, I understand, and I hear that there's a lot of achievements and everything, which is, I'm also echoing the words of my colleague that, yes, we can have those percentage so high, but if we don't see anything on the ground, because our achievement must be measured based on what we see within the community. Because the other issue is the issue, I thought it was going to be raised very sharply, the issue of the inspectors. We know that we are really short of the inspectors. Most of the time you find that even ourselves, we go to this. Last time we were in KZN doing the very same work of inspection. Luckily, our departments are responding very well, but at the end of the day, they ask for stuff. You find that they are unable to can go to there are other areas that are not serviced, so many of them. Now, that issue is not coming up very clear, when are we going to have more inspectors? The inspectors, I think, that we are having here in the whole country, it does not even make 30% of comparing to the inspection that is supposed to be done. We may be issuing all the notices and everything and all that stuff, but at the same time, we are unable to can go back and check whether those notices that we have issued, did the people really comply? And then what are we saying? Have they complied? Have they changed in whatever they were doing wrong? those things. So it's impossible when you're going to have enough staff. So now that is a very important issue. And then in terms of the referrals, I just want to say, those referrals, do we really get the outcomes that we really want from these referrals? I'm talking about the cases because sometimes we go to the farm and then see more pumus. At the end of the day, that person will only pay a fine and come back and then they will still do the same thing. That's why I'm saying that it's like to move and then cook. Right, but that means we are working backwards because at the same time we take somebody and then Simisa Ayovalelwa, the next thing we have Puma and we find with a very small amount. And then again, they don't change. I can assure you, if you can go back tomorrow to all the farms that we went to and other shops that we went to, they are still working. It is normal. They know that we will only come once in a while. And then maybe after 5 or 10 years again, we will come back. But they will still be doing the very same thing. So that's why I'm saying, I don't think we are really doing justice to our people. So all those things that we need to have more staff. And then even in terms of the prosecution, whether the prosecutions are done accordingly and so forth, I don't know. The other thing, Chairperson, I'm sorry, this thing I will keep on saying is, until we do it correctly. Yes, we are priding ourselves with LEP, but according to me, LEP does not create sustainable growth. Let us be honest. The way the LEP is implemented, it does not really create. Whereas we have a very good potential to can create a sustainable growth. If we can sit and talk and then how can we really implement LEP? So that at the end of the day, we can register the jobs. If we take people and train them, let me just say, take people into the security company, and then we are expecting maybe, let me just say 1,000 people. Where are these people going to be placed? Where are these people going to be employed? Because what we are supposed to be focusing is to create a sustainable job, because we know that the trainings have been happening for so many years. If we can go out there and then we can just say, check how many people have been trained that have got the certificate. It's a lot of them that they are not working. They only got those papers at that time, and then they are at home now. They are still seeking for the job even today. So this system is not assisting us. So Tina, as the department, we are supposed to be focusing on sustainable jobs. And it can be done with the money that we have. It can be done instead of leaving the money to be vulnerable for e-corruption. But we put it in good use. We create sustainable jobs. There are people out there that have got very good brains that can assist us, that have got proposals that are very good, that can create sustainable jobs. Maybe that's why I'm saying, Chairperson, I will keep on saying this. Let us have it for 2 or 3 days. Physical, not online. Physical. I don't want to call it a statement, but I call, maybe we can say website, where we are going to come up with tangible things that we are going to say, okay, right, let us go and then identify certain areas. Obviously, I don't know. Sometimes there are some certain excuses where we say it's a small business. There's nothing wrong for us to can even call the small business into that meeting, because our intention is to create jobs. People must work, sustainable jobs, not EPWP, please. These things of EPW, unless we can engage on the issues of the EPW, unless we've got a plan that when we take people for EPWP, and then what will be the exit plan? Because at the end of the day, we really need to know what we are talking about. And Chairperson, there's an issue that I'm still not responding to, and which is I want to find out how far is it, because it does not even appear in the report and everything. The issue of the petrol security, I won't leave that matter, because if we are serious about the issues of cleaning the corruption, that I have just decided overnight. But this thing is in public eye. They know that this is what has happened. They're just waiting for the right moment. Now, we cannot then in the department allow that and say, no, let us just keep quiet about it. It's fine, it has happened. No, it must be rectified. It must be rectified. So those are the issues, Chairperson. It might be let us employ more inspectors. Otherwise, we are not doing justice to our people. The last one, Chairperson, is the infrastructure. The infrastructure does not, maybe it's because I'm not well, but I can't have, the report doesn't really talk about the infrastructure. I know those buildings are, is the public works. But come on, let us talk to public works. Public works must do something about it. We cannot have the areas where the centers are closed because there's a problem of the building. Otherwise, then they must allow us to can run our own office spaces, to grow and protect our own office spaces. Because now they are not ready, they are disadvantaging our people on the ground. So it is totally uncalled for. Yeah, otherwise, thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Mbele. Honorable Nansele at the last.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I would request to keep my camera off.
You are permitted, Honorable Nansele, can proceed.
Thanks. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, in appreciation of the reports that have been put forward by the department, I want also to welcome Honorable Minister, and I also want to welcome honorable members, and as well as extend greetings to the community and the observers to the meeting. Honorable Chair, in appreciation of the presence of Honorable Minister, one wants to also to appreciate, in line with statements already that have been made, that her ability to strike a balance between the needs of the executive and those of the portfolio committee are quite encouraging and welcome, particularly in ensuring that the roles and the various responsibilities allocated to each branch are fully appreciated. The second point is the question of ensuring that the department responds to the expectations that we have defined in terms of the targets and the programs that have been implemented as adopted initially when presented to this committee. But however, would want to also to help ensure that in areas where, for instance, there are serious gaps, we are able to make the necessary intervention so that the kind of cooperation and support or mutual support between the two, which is the committee and the department, is in fact seen in its proper context, that is of unity and struggle. In saying this, Chair, the particular point relates to the reports that have been submitted. The department's first quarter, that is performance report, and as well as the performance by the SEE. I'll take them together so that I save on time, because the areas of observation are the gaps that have been noted, particularly with regard to the set targets, with regard to public employment service program, and as well as the issues that relate to finances. These points have in part been elaborated by my honorable colleagues who spoke before me. But I want just to re-emphasize the point that talks to the financial performance of the first quarter, that the report indicates prudent budget management, yet at the same time it reveals areas that need attention. Whilst the department's expenditure totaled approximately 18% of its 4.15 billion budget, underspending in key areas, particularly on compensation of employees, which runs to 13%, and in the infrastructure projects such as inefficiencies stemming from vacant positions and delays in the procurement and infrastructure development. And we can note in the impact of that, Chair, that it in fact talks to negatively to the targeted areas that relates to employment creation and also positioning the department in a better position. And that issues of overspending in goods and services, especially travel and subsistence, which is amounts to 42 million rands, highlights budgetary pressures that may require strict oversight to prevent recurrent overspending. Those are the observations one wants to make in addition to those that have been made by my colleagues. Quickly, Chair, just to run to the questions. I've got two questions on arising from that. That given what specific strategies in the department that is implemented to address the high vacancy rate in its staff complement to ensure more efficient utilization of personnel resources and reduce underspending on compensation? That's the first question. The second one, how does the department plan to control and monitor overspending on travel and subsistence expenses to prevent recurrent budget overruns in future quarters? On the second area, Chair, the area talks to Q2 performance report, again, of the department. The observation, again, is more or less similar to the areas I've raised earlier on. But one key observation centers on the performance gaps in the public employment services branch, and that I've also noted, and that the employment services are crucial to realizing inclusive economic growth, and the achievement in this sector could have ripple effects in the poverty alleviation and social stability. Possible causes, Chair, include insufficient resources allocation, delays in program rollout, or systemic inefficiencies in service delivery. So noting those areas, Chair, including addressing these challenges, is probably essential because continued underperformance could erode stakeholder confidence and impede the department's transformative agenda in creating a capable, ethical, and developmental state. So the questions, Chair, again, that I would want to raise as follows. The first one is, how is the department leveraging technology and inter-branch collaboration to improve service efficiency, accountability, and overall performance in light of the current achievement gaps? The second one, what specific measures in the department implementing to address significant overspending on travel and subsistence costs, which have exceeded the budget by 107 million in Q2, that is of the 2025-2026 financial year. The last question on this section, Chair, is as follows. How does the department plan to improve its financial management and fill the unoccupied vacancies to prevent underspending on compensation of employees and ensure better alignment with the approved budget in future quarters? That question again, Chair, addresses the issues that one has raised earlier on. The next area, Chair, relates to SEE, which also has seen both positives and negatives. But the point that one wants to raise is on the key observation that is the SSE reliance on external intervention such as workshops and consultancy support to improve operational efficiency and financial management. While these are essential, they need to be complemented with immediate concrete actions aimed at boosting factory productivity and sourcing new business opportunities. The organization strategy must focus on activating the memorandums of agreement into actual orders and expanding outreach to potential clients. The key point, Chair, that we're basically re-emphasizing here is that until the SEE is able to reach out to the potential customers and supporters who are in dire need of the services that they are in fact producing, including their products. The reality is that its financial situation would continue not to improve until it is able, therefore, to make the necessary interventions or impact into the market themselves. But also extending also this area of engagement to the fraternal departments, ensuring that you have a commitment where they have made a commitment to expand in terms of ensuring that they source their furniture from the SEE. That would also go a long way to resolving the cash flow challenges that the entity is funded with. The first question, Chair, therefore, that follows is as follows. What targeted capacity building initiatives are in place to improve internal audit processes and address capacity constraints within the finance function? Then the second one, how will the SEE ensure the employment of persons with disabilities that aligns with organizational goals, and what mechanisms are being introduced to actively source and retain such talent, given that SEE as well has in fact owes its origins and the operations to this particular sector, which is the disability sector. Those are my last two questions, Chair. Thank you for allowing me to make these questions.
Thank you, Honorable Matsale. That would have been the last from the members list I have. As I will be giving to you, the Minister, and the team, you would, of course, take the approach you'd want to take, whether you come in at the end to plug the gaps or you want to set the scene again. That would be up to you. But just as we get the response, just issues of clarity so that at the summary level, one doesn't make that mistake. I want to focus on the finances. There's a slide there that talks to 24 million, of which 13 would have been spent already. It's called civil society. In the same page, you've got NEDLAC. And NEDLAC also accounts for social partners, which include civil society, when they talk about the programs that they've engaged in. So if you can clarify what that item means on civil society, when it's separated from NEDLAC, so that we know if you are not referring to the same thing, and we can then look at accountability going forward on that matter. The other issue would relate to, on the finances still, whether indeed this point that's being raised on overspending. But when I looked at it with your minuses, you've got overspending even when you have less human resource available. Whether this is caused by emergency situations or it is lack of planning on our side, knowingly that at that quarter you have a spike, whilst you have got lower appetite for those travels in the course of the year, so that we know that there is a recovery plan, that the bottom line will not change by the time we close the books in this regard. So those were the two matters I wanted clarity on, so that the summary is bit clearer. On what point are you rising, Honorable Mukwele and Maecho?
Yes, Chair. I forgot something on finance also. You reminded me. There is a slide, the last slide, that says, that speaks to municipalities and provinces. And it says they have spent 50%, but at the bottom, it says 46%. So I just want a clarity because it's just a one item on that, and then it speaks about two different percentages and monies, if they can just clarify on that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mukwele. Honorable Maitso, on what point?
No, Chair, no, Chair, I think that, I'm covered, Chair. I'm covered by all that.
Okay, no, that's fine. Can we then get to you, Honorable Minister and the team, to respond?
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. May you please allow me not to unmute my video to enhance my bandwidth.
Minister can proceed.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Chair, to the honorable members on those inputs and also questions. I would request that the AG comes with her team, then I'll come last. I mean the ADG, I'm sorry, the ADG.
Thank you very much, Minister, and thank you very much, honorable members, for the questions that you have posed. I will respond to the two questions directed to myself regarding what specific strategies is the Office of the DG putting to enhance oversight across the performance of the different branches. I just need to indicate that in pursuit of this, what we are currently doing is to ensure that we review all performance agreements of all senior managers, and any underperformance, then we put performance improvement plans in place. And if that is also not bearing fruit, then we have to look at other means of reviewing the ability of the people who are holding those particular positions. Just also need to underscore the point that around the performance of the respective units, we are engaging and having restored the governance processes to review performances of each and every branch on a quarterly basis and also monthly basis, to ensure that there are plans to make sure that colleagues catch up in terms of performance and also meeting those targets. And on the issue of consequence management that has been picked up by the AGSA around the material irregularities and the people who have been found wanting on the back of the investigations that we have received, we are pursuing those with cases being taken up with the respective law enforcement agencies. And I just need to underscore the point that even those who have resigned and thinking that they will be escaping consequence management, we are pursuing them. And even others who have resigned from the department and then going to other departments, we are pursuing them in that area. So I want to underscore the point that we are definitely we are implementing consequence management, especially where there has been financial mismanagement or even wrong contractual agreements that have been entered to that result in material irregularities. With that being said, I'll ask the respective DDGs and also the SEE colleague to respond to the questions raised by the colleagues. Thank you. I'll hand over and just probably start with the DDG who started to respond to all the questions and the other DDGs. Thank you, Chair. Through you, you can start DDG Muira and respond to all the questions that have been raised by the honorable members. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting DG. Thank you, Honorable Chair. In terms of matters that were raised that affect inspections and enforcement services, I'll respond first of all to what was raised by Honorable Maecho in terms of the status of statutory services vacancies in KZN and the Western Cape. In KZN, we've already moved in terms of filling those vacancies. I also need to point out that in Q1, when we reported that there was a capacity issue, one of our statutory services official was on maternity leave and has since come back. That is with regards to KZN. And in the Western Cape, we also have 2 officials there, but there's 1 vacancy. And the vacancy is at an advanced stage of being filled. And I know that shortlisting was underway. In response to what was raised by Honorable Mukwele regarding the fact that we have conducted a number of inspections, however, we are weak on enforcement. I do want to point out that for the quarter under review, which is Q2, we conducted over 162,000 inspections. And from that number, the workplaces that were found to be non-compliant were 39,569. And we were able to issue out 39,353, which is 99%. We issued out notices within the 14-day period at most, as per our indicator, against a target of 95%. So we actually overachieved by 4%. So we do act on non-compliance when we pick it up. And regarding the lack of capacity or inadequate capacity regarding employment equity inspectors, Honorable Chair, this is a matter that we've raised consistently, even on this platform, that when it comes to employment equity, we've got about just under 50 inspectors for the entire country. And it's something that it's historical. And for us to be able to solve this problem in a way that will deal with the matter, we do need to employ permanent employment equity inspectors, because we do need to make an impact as far as that law is concerned. However, this is limited by budgetary constraint. And in the meantime, the minister did indicate that through Project 20K, we are trying to augment capacity issues, and this will be one area that will also benefit from that. And in terms of qualifications of inspectors, again, responding to Honorable Mukwele, those inspectors that have been in the employ for quite some time and do not have official qualifications, what are we doing about it? I need to point out that the branch underwent a professionalization a few years back, around 2009. And what that meant was that all our inspectors are now required to have some kind of qualification, which is a B degree, and it will depend on the discipline in terms of what qualification will be needed. And what we did at that point in time is also to open up opportunities for inspectors that did not have formal qualifications to capacitate themselves. The issue of development is two-stream. It is the responsibility of an individual as much as the institution should also have some responsibilities. So bursary opportunities were made available. There are inspectors that took that up, and today they've got qualifications. We issue continuous on-the-job and functional training just for our inspectors to keep up with contemporary developments in various areas that they are in. However, one cannot rule out that there'll still be those inspectors that feel like they've been left behind, but I wouldn't point it to the inability of the institution or the department to assist in that regard. Regarding issues that were raised by Honorable Mbele, on the inspectors' impact, that we conduct a lot of inspections, but on the ground, there is no impact because there are capacity challenges. Regarding the capacity challenges, I couldn't agree with you more, Honorable Mbele. Yes, we do have capacity challenges, and it's something that we've been upfront with from all corners. On an annual basis, we conduct around just over 300,000 inspections. And if you were to match that against the database of workplaces that are registered in the country, whether you use the SIPs as a source of data or our own unemployment insurance information, or even the compensation fund information, the number of workplaces range from about 1.6 million to over 2.3 million, depending on which database you are looking at. And that would then argue that the sample that we undertake is just around 2%. And even in statistical terms, that will be regarded as a low sample. But then the target is based on the number of inspectors that we have. And the other thing that I really need to point out is that compliance is not just the outcome of the work that is done by the inspectorate. Employers themselves have got a responsibility. And also, we do work with social partners such as organized labor. Because for us to have sustained compliance, we always say that you're not going to find inspectors in all workplaces, but in every workplace, there is a worker. And therefore, workers have got to be capacitated to be able to stand up for their own rights and also have an organized labor that is going to assist in terms of us maintaining sustained compliance. What we also do, IES as a branch has got 3 pillars. I guess the pillar that is seen the most is the one of inspections. However, there are some things that happen away from the glaring eye of the cameras. Like we've got advocacy, which is also a strategic pillar. And we have made strides in this regard to make sure that we don't just preach compliance, but there's also change in behavior. So we have linked with organized labor. For instance, in the hospitality sector, we've been working with FEDASA, which is a fraternity for the hospitality sector. And we've had advocacy campaigns on several occasions with them for us to be able to make sure that we partner with them to be able to change the attitude and move towards sustained compliance with people that are part of their fraternity in the hospitality sector. I'm just using that as an example. And in the textile sector, we're moving towards the same. There are companies, Chairperson, Honorable Chair, that we've taken on board where we can literally show that we've moved a journey with them, where there was a blatant disregard for our labor laws. We came in through the partnerships and everything, and today we are talking something else. So there is some impact that we have on the ground. And in terms of the second point raised by Honorable Mbele on follow-up inspections, we do conduct follow-up inspections in terms of our operating procedures and our legal prescripts. We are obligated to conduct follow-up inspections in as far as the Occupational Health and Safety Act is concerned. But with the other laws, we don't have to. If you look at the BCA, for instance, the amendments that were made and working with the CCMA, we are able to refer for prosecution without the need to conduct follow-up inspections. The same with the enforcement of UI as well. And so you also asked about the matter of referral for prosecution and whether do we get feedback. We work with the CCMA in terms of referral for prosecution in the instance of non-compliance with BCA as well as UI. With the CCMA, we work beautifully. We get feedback. CCMA has got the powers to turn a non-compliance notice into an award that has got the same weight as a court award. And we've been able to recover monies for individuals using our referral systems from the CCMA. We do have some challenges with the NPA as well as the Labour Court. The Labour Court in particular, we will refer employment equity related cases. There are capacity issues that they're grappling with, so the processes are quite slow. And with the NPA, I referred earlier on to some of the challenges that we're picking up on the ground, and it's issues that we are working on together with the NPA, just so that we are able to streamline our processes and that we're able to glean impact in that regard. Thank you, Acting DG. That takes care of the questions that were asked in the IES space.
Should I come in, DG? I think on the PES side, Honorable Chairperson, the question from Honorable Maetso around the strategies we use to monitor the performance to also accelerate achievements, but also data management across the provinces. Firstly, the data, we relied heavily on the system, and I did indicate the proactive step that we took when we realized the underperformance to bring in the CIO and the Tech Mahindra as a contingency measure to roll back onto the old system, because this is a requirement that when you implement a new system, you must always have a fallback, and that the CIO should consider implementing what is in the SLA punitive measures in case the service provider does not perform. The proactive, the assistance to PES that the DG talked about, others that they are looking at, but as the branch, we have gone out to seek assistance. We work with a number of entities, the European Union together with the basic education and higher education. We also, through the National Treasury, continue to receive assistance from the World Bank, technical assistance, not alone, to improve on our systems. We also work with the ILO, and we also work with the presidency on the youth employment, because this is an initiative that is driven at that level, and we have been designated to be the custodian of the funding that goes to both GTEC and IDC. And the reason for an expenditure in the GTEC has been the issue between GTEC and Harambee, and we have intervened to try and sort out the problem between the parties with the presidency. And we are hoping and that before the 15th, we'll see a movement in the 250 million. And Honorable Maetso, on the additional measures that we are doing to ensure the entry of persons with disability into employment, I did mention the two intervention areas. One is where we transfer the 204 million to supported employment enterprises. We're working on the challenges, and we're hoping that with the orders that are likely to come in, the zero employment will translate into major employment, which may include also contracts for a number of people. SAE currently has 986 or so people and it has got a capacity to take up to 3,000 people in all factories. And I did mention that through the designated organizations allocation, which is a small amount of 24 million, we have partnered with about 21 organizations that employ 1,016 people in a cycle of 3 years that continue to receive their grant from social development. We give 1,500, and the entities in terms of the contractual arrangement are bound to increase that allocation from the proceeds of their sales, and that gives all of us equal responsibility to make sure that all these people attend programs. They are there because social development ourselves and the companies have got their own M&E systems. And Honorable Mukwele, on the question of sustainable employment, let me say this is twofold, Honorable Mukwele. There are those interventions that are outside of DEL, such as negotiations on trades, the geopolitics, the technologies, etc., that do influence how jobs are actually become sustainable. But within our department, in those areas where we have control, we have done a number of things. Apart from the presentation that we have made on the placements that we do, the National Employment Policy, for instance, gives the vision, the goal, and the context and the pillars that are important in making sure that the country has got a direction. This is informed also by the ILO conventions. It's not something that is unique to South Africa, that we have done a policy working with the ILO on. And secondly, we did mention the question of coordination of public employment programs. The minister, in terms of the basic conditions of employment and the Labour Relations Act, in all these programs that are happening, EPWP, Community Works Program, etc., the minister sets standards and working conditions of those programs, including the minimum wages for all those programs. So the minister has got a strategic role to play in those programs and making sure that they provide, even though it's short-term employment, but workers enjoy certain minimum rights. Hence, we've developed this framework to make sure that all those programs have got or adhere to certain minimum standards. And this framework follows on the two researches that were conducted by the Nelson Mandela University and the HSRC on all 106 public employment programs that have been in place and active since the dawn of our democracy in 1994, pointing out some kind of weaknesses and areas that we can intervene as the Ministry of Employment to improve their impact. So those would be the interventions from our side. And on Honorable Nontsele's questions, I think around the partnerships that we have created, we and the support we provide to provinces. I did indicate the question of the funding that we received from the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative, where we have 324 and we are moving towards 450 limit that we have been granted funding for. The vacancies, I think DG touched on that issue, and the technology and the partnerships that we have are also beyond the department. You will have noticed in Mr. Maduna's presentation, the GTEC and the IDC. These are concrete partnerships that we have created because we believe that on our own we cannot solve especially youth unemployment on our own. Thank you, DG.
Thank you, DG, and honorable members. I'm going to deal with two issues. One, I want just to add on the issue of employment equity. I think we need to explain that in terms of the law that is passed by Parliament, employment equity law, that there are two kinds of disputes. There are disputes where an employer has failed to report, does not have a plan, they have not met their target, the target that has been set by the minister. The Department of Labor and inspectors are responsible in enforcing that. Where a worker says, I apply for a job, I did not get the job, and I believe that I did not get this job because I'm colored, because I'm African, or because I'm white. In terms of the law, those individual cases must be referred to the CCMA or bargaining council for them to conciliate, then refer them to the labor code. Now, the CCMA does not visit companies, does not do inspection. Any person who wants to launch a case with the CCMA can go to the CCMA, launch a case, or can go online, refer a case just like a court. You don't call the court to come to you. You go to court, you put in your papers. That's how the law structured the CCMA. And workers can also go to our labor centers to get assistance in terms of referring cases to the CCMA. Just wanted to add addition on this issue of employment equity and the enforcement thereof, and what areas the department can enforce, what areas are referred to the CCMA. All areas about individual disputes where an employee believes that they should have been appointed, whether they are black or white or green, as I've said, then those cases are individual disputes that they must be referred to the CCMA. The question that is asked by the chair about what's the difference of this civil society that we're talking about and the civil society at NEDLAC. In the department passed by Parliament, we've got money allocated by Parliament in our vote that goes to what we call the Civil Society Fund. Honorable members will know who were in the labor movement. It was called a long time ago, 95, the Ditsela Fund. In this fund, we fund Ditsela, the Training Institute for Labor, which trains shop stewards for all the federation, SAFTU, COSATU, NACTU, and FEDUSA, comes out of the Civil Society Fund. And then out of that, we also fund this federation to celebrate May Day. You might not fund them 100%, but to assist in the funding of Celebration May Day, it comes out of the Civil Society Fund. And we further go out and fund the Workers' College, which is based in KZN, as part of that funding. And we fund civil society organizations like organizations that are involved in training of workers, the advice offices that are involved in training of workers, advocacy, and assisting the department, making sure that workers understand. Therefore, this civil society that we're talking about is a little bit different to the NEDLAC one. The NEDLAC one, it does not include labor. When you talk about civil society at NEDLAC, it does not include labor. But in this civil society fund that we have, it funds the federation, as I've indicated. It funds also, and even the Elijah Baha'i lecture is funded out of the civil society fund. That's a difference between, as the chair asked, the civil society part, the NEDLAC, and the civil society fund that we're talking about as far as funding. Thank you, Chair.
I am going to respond on the issues of finance for the department. The observation on the spending or underspending on COE of 13%, primarily as a result of vacancies, but the corporate services can elaborate on that, as well as the infrastructure spending. Those observations are true. The infrastructural spending I think there's the spending that is largely influenced by our implementing partner, which is National Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, which I think the projects are not moving as fast as we would like them to be. I think those observations are true. In terms of the areas of spending in the department, I think members have correctly identified traveling and subsistence costs, which are the line, one of the, some of the line items that are overspending. But I think we need to view them together with the performance of the core programs that are driving this cost, which is IES mainly, and probably public employment services, and probably all the other departments, but those are the main drivers, and their performance as well. I think the visibility that we see out there, for me, I think is driven and underpinned by the expenditure. The inspectors that are out there in some areas conducting blitz inspection with the executive authority. Yes, we are reviewing and the whole expenditure, making sure that nothing falls into the cracks. All are genuine expenditure for the department. That process is ongoing to make sure that whatever we pay is what we are supposed to pay as a department. If not, then necessary steps are going to be taken to make sure that whatever was not supposed to be paid is then recovered. But yeah, that's the expenditure on travel and subsistence and accommodation, if I may add. The last one in terms of transfers and subsidies on the last slide of 46%. The 46% is the sum total of all the transfers that has happened. I think I endeavored, the CFO endeavored to present them per branch where the budget is sitting, LP and IR and best LP and IR. And the last one of household, that's the one that probably cuts across, but the 46% spending, or the 26 for the household. The spending is just for the household because it cuts across, but the overall as presented in slide 2, right at the beginning, or slide 1, not slide 2, where it talks about economic classification, transfers and subsidies. Overall, the transfers and subsidies are sitting at 46%. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chair. I'll respond to SEE questions. The first one, I think, was from Honorable Michael. The achievement of one marketing campaign out of 4. The 4 is an annual target. So in the first quarter, we achieved 1. In the second quarter, we achieved 2. So it was, I think, the 4 that you mentioned that we achieved 1 out of 4. The 4 actually is an annual target. The second one was around the plans to convert or accelerate the conversion of MOUs into contract. When we undertake these marketing campaigns, the aim obviously is to try to create awareness of SEE and its product offering, and give stakeholders an opportunity to interact with the factories to see what we're actually offering. So from those engagements, obviously there are some leads which we need to follow up to convert them into MOUs or MOAs and eventual contract. What we have seen is that at the high level, there is an appetite to support SEE with regard to procuring from it. But right at the end, where now we have to get into signing the MOA and the MOU, this is where we seen a reluctancy, and especially even from organs of state with regard to procuring from SEE, because they will come to us, they will ask for samples. We will do we'll do the quotations and everything. It's just that the final order are not coming through, which is something that we are working on. It might need even an intervention, which is above our pay grade in that regard, because there are commitments from organs of state, from the private sector. But one of the things that we have seen is the requirements again to comply with the SCN requirements, which is a legislation. Hence, one of the interventions was to write or submit an application through a minister to Minister of Finance to exempt some of organs of state from procuring, from complying with those legislative prescripts from procuring when procuring to SEE. That is still a work in progress. Plans to capacitate finance to deal with audit findings. Yes, we have serious challenges under our finance, which is illustrated by the audit findings that we have, which talks to non-compliance to various legislative prescripts, whether it's on procurement or any other. So what we're doing, obviously, we the first step was to request our HR to assist us with the skills audit, just to understand the skill sets that we have within the enterprise itself, identify the gaps, and understand what kind of skill sets do we need to bring into the enterprise. Number two was to engage with both the internal audit and Auditor General when after developing an audit action plan to deal with the audit findings, just for them to stress test it and tell us that we're on the right path to be able to deal with those audit findings through the implementation of the audit action plan. It's an ongoing activity, which from the discussions that we are having so far with them, it is a positive discussions around how we can begin to reduce those audit paragraphs with the view of transitioning from the adverse audit to a cleaner audit, perhaps in the medium to long term. The plan to retain skills in the PWs in the factories. The PWDs, the factories, they do have their own personnel with regard to HR. So another thing, what is happening is those skills audit, just to check and trying to partner with external service providers like the CETAs to see what kind of training they can offer to our PWDs, just to augment on the skills that they have in terms of producing the product offering that we have at the moment. Because the aim is for them to acquire additional skills that will enable us to, when diversifying on the products line that we have, especially in the wood workshop, where we haven't seen much activity because of a lack of demand from what we are producing. The other question, I think, was from Honorable Mukwele with regard to what are we doing to attract a client base, the strategy that will show that we attract client base that can add value. So we have a strategy that we developed, and it's approved. We are implementing that strategy, the marketing strategy. That strategy, when you look at it, it is trying to strengthen the brand visibility, showcase the diverse products that we are having, and try to create a direct engagement opportunities with decision makers, both in the private and public sector, so that they can come to our events and see firsthand what is there that we're doing, engage and walk through the factories just to see the kind of infrastructure that we have. And in addition to that, the strategy is placing an emphasis, is emphasizing on modernizing our distribution channels, which we believe we can start tapping into e-commerce platforms to facilitate direct online sales while leveraging on partnership, which we would have established through digital marketing channels such as Take a Lot and other forms of platforms that can enable us to reach that wider audience. From Honorable Nonzele, I think the question there was what is the targeted capacity planning to improve the audit findings. I've already touched on that we are working closely with both the internal and external auditors just from time to time to test the work that we are doing as we are implementing the audit action plan, that just to see that are we on the right track, because if the audit action plan is not addressing the root causes and still show signs that the audit can prevail, it's not going to help us in dealing with or doing away with the audit findings. So, but working closely with them, we begin to understand what is there that they need, and they help us to refine our audit action plan to deal with those findings. And by so doing, I think if we can manage to reduce the number of findings that we have, it paves a foundation for the up and coming audit, where the bulk of the work would have been done through addressing the findings from the previous audit. I think those are some of the questions. If I've left out any, please indicate so that I can respond to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. DG, are you done? So that I can soup.
Minister, my apologies to the Chair. There was a question, Chair, if I may, Minister, on what strategy to address high vacancy rate. We had dealt with the interventions, but through you, Chair, if I may request Chief Director for Human Resources just to talk to that, if you allow, Chair, Ms. Magila. Then we'll be done with all the questions, I think.
Please don't abuse the chair. The chair had given to the DG, and DG said all the people who presented should please respond. So I didn't notice that there's one left. So you can ask for the permission now. We're given it long ago.
Thanks, Minister. Ms. Makila, please, if you can talk to the strategy to address high vacancy rate. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Chairperson, Minister, members of the Portfolio Committee, and my principals, including colleagues at large. On the vacancy rate, I can indicate that in Q3, we are seeing an improvement in the filling of vacancies. And I think worth stating is the fact that we opened the current financial year almost at the same time that we received concurrence from the DPSA to fill the 293 vacancies. And filling of vacancies is a process, and I think with the advertising that has taken place, and most of them in Q2, we have made progress, in particular, around the filling of vacancies. I think it is indicated in the report that towards the end of quarter one and for the better part of quarter two, the HR practitioners in particular had to ensure a balance between handling recruitment processes related to Project 20K and also the filling of those 293 vacancies. Now, the partnership with Harambee in assisting with the response handling in particular has really assisted also in ensuring that there's more hands and heads around the filling of vacancies. And also we have strengthened the monitoring role, and we will continue improving on that in ensuring that filling of vacancies is prioritized across the provinces. Presently, we get reports from the provinces on the status, and now the plan is to ensure that on a weekly basis that they are meeting with the provinces included, so that we at least have a sense of the challenges that they are experiencing with some of the positions. But as I have already indicated, Minister and members, there is an improvement in quarter three in this area. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. I think, DG, there are some remaining questions that are not responded to. For an example, there was an issue raised of interns that are deployed by the department to service providers versus the SLA. I did not hear a response to that. If you can be quickly assisted, please.
Thank you, Minister. Apologies for that. The CIO, can you please respond to that issue on the SLA and more specifically around Project Diphetogo? It was asked by Honorable Mayeto.
And on that note, the other Diphetogo, the security, I did not hear a response on that one. Please.
CIO, you're in the meeting. Please respond to those two questions. Alex?
Am I audible now, DG?
Yes, you are. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. I was talking on mute. Good afternoon, honorable members, and good afternoon to the honorable minister, the DG, and fellow colleagues. DG, I will want to touch on two subjects that I believe were asked in relation to Diphetogo and also in relation to the infrastructure. My understanding with Diphetogo that it is a strategic project that was meant specifically to deal with digital transformation and modernization in the department, and also to deal with the legacy systems in the department. It is, however, unfortunate that this project was followed with a serious challenges and a whole lot of the challenges within it. And as we are still busy with the implementation, we find ourselves having challenges with our digital transformation plan, whereby we are now on 20% instead of 30% as planned in the APP. The biggest challenge is the department being able to go live, and once we have went live, we realized that there are too many defects in the system or in the module that has gone live, and we have to revert back. In situations like that, that is related to the underperformance by the service provider, which is Tech Mahindra in this case. That is where a service provider appointed to implement the Diphetogo project. Now, when we have challenges like this, we go back to the SLA and look at our penalty clause, and together with our legal service, their guidance, to see how we can apply our punitive measures and make sure that we are able to crawl back and go live with no challenges when we go live the next time around. Where we are with the challenge that we have at the moment, the slow implementation, the delays in the implementation of the project, we have started engagements with our legal to start looking at punitive measures that we can apply, and also to start also looking at how do we regain traction on the project. There are war rooms at the moment with PES and LPNIR to make sure that when we go live end of 1st of April 2026, we don't experience the same challenges that we have experienced as we were planning to have went live by now. So that is one other challenge that we have. And yes, with our legal service guidance, we are looking at punitive measures because there is a punitive clause in the SLA. There were other challenges that were raised, DG, that are related to the infrastructure. And maybe just to talk to those ones, it is to say, we have made serious progress in terms of the infrastructure. In the previous financial year, we managed to upgrade our internet lines. In the current financial year, we are upgrading our bandwidth to all the labor centers to a minimum of 10 megs per second. And in the coming financial year, we're looking at upgrading further to 100 megs per second. And we have also looked at other options that we can make available while we are still busy rolling out this 10 megs per second upgrade. We have implemented the APN, whereby users can be able to access a network or their applications through internet instead of using the SETA network. The big challenge that we have here, Chairperson, is the SETA network, which is slow, and when you are to upgrade, it takes forever because of poor performance by SETA. And also the network itself is not properly managed in terms of quality of service. That is why we are looking at other alternatives with direct network through Telkom to make sure that there is an option for our users to either use the SETA network or use the Telkom network or the internet line, whatever, to be able to access the applications. Only those users that are on transversal systems are the ones that will be using the SETA network. All the other users will be having an option of using internet or a Telkom line. The engagement with Telkom has gone far ahead, and we're expecting a proposal by the end of this week from Telkom so that we can start with the rollout before the end of the financial year. In terms of security, we have appointed CSIR, and we believe that in appointing CSIR, it was the best move by the department because the CSIR is a state-owned entity which has got the best interest of government departments' security at heart. Currently, they are busy investigating our security breaches, and all those investigations are going to be concluded by the 15th of December. And with what they have implemented so far, they have implemented the Security Operations Center. They have started deploying the SIM, and they have been assisting us in making sure that we roll out the multiple factor authentication to protect our environment from our own users. And also, they also assist us with the rollout of the NIST framework and make sure that we are able to achieve 80% before the end of the financial year. With that being said, I am not sure if I've covered everything, the DG. I hope so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. My apologies, saying that the DG now is not speaking. I take that they have said what they are able to say. I want to apologize to Honorable Mbele to say I haven't yet received the report on the reported alleged corruption or maladministration on the appointment of a security company by the name Diphetogo. And I want to ask Chair that you give me within 7 days that I submit that report on what the department has done to investigate that matter. Coming to the areas which were covered by both the DDGs and DG and the CEO, and now the Chief Director from Human Resource and the CFO, I think I am fully covered by the CFO on the issue of prudence in the financial management, in particular on the issue of goods and services over expenditure on S&T, and the issues also of the COE under expenditure, which was covered by corporate services. To say it's not at the ideal speed that one would have loved, but for sure we are witnesses that we've seen a lot of adverts going out, and we look forward to the actual finalization of that process and ensuring that there is the human resource capacity that is so needed. But the issue of the ICT, the issue of PES, and the issue of HRM, the DG is coming closer to that, in particular looking at the provinces that continue to be challenged in terms of performance. I have requested that she makes those three matters her own baby so that there can be the appreciation of what needs to be done, and on issues of vacancy rate that DG Morotoba was complaining about, and also general chronic challenges of the ICT, including the capacity internally of the HRM, which is mentioned in the report to also have caused some disruption in the speed with which they were supposed to have moved to fill the vacancies because of the implementation of the project 20,000, which then I think it is the reason why the DG has since engaged the Harambee, which is working on our behalf because we are funding them, but they managed to recruit the teacher assistants within 3 weeks. 158,000 teachers were recruited within 3 weeks. But with us, the 20,000, even the 10,000 for this year has been a tall order. But at least we are happy to say, as the report had reported, that we have more than doubled the number of the inspectors that we already had, which was around 2,500, with the additional 3,500 interns under the project 20,000, whose aim is to ensure that we reinforce the capacity that the honorable members are talking about on inspection so that we don't hit and run. Because even though the DDG is saying we do go back, but because of the capacity constraints, looking at the number of the inspectors that we have, we are not always found to be repeatedly visiting these companies. And as such, I agree with the honorable member that they've since seen our weakness and they are using that to continue to do things that they were found not to be doing and they were not supposed to do. So it is important that we admit in terms of the capacity, but we are still looking forward to get the report from the DG on how they are utilizing at least the 3,500 inspector interns, even looking at the issue that were raised by honorable members of the employment equity. There was also a proposal about permanent equity inspection, which talks to if we use these interns and we divide and deploy them to the relevant fields, we can be able then to yield some positive outcomes in the work that we do, even though we're looking at least 10,000. And I must emphasize this, that this is a 2-year internship whose aims are to ensure that, one, we introduce these unemployed graduates to the world of work, but at the same time, as we do that, we have an impact or a dent that we make on dealing with the issues of inspection. So it's supposed to be an interim measure which we are using as we are supposed to transit from or transition from 100% dependence on physical inspection, because it's not doable. Other countries we have seen that they've moved to use the technologies to have hybrid inspection. And I'm still engaging the administration to look at that so that we use the 2 years period of the internship to at least also capacitate ourselves and also look at the issue of ICT, how it can help us to have these hybrid inspections, both physical and through the use of technology. Again, Chair, I wanted to say I am happy that the CFO understands now that the Department of Employment and Labour that we had in the 6th administration differs from the one that we have now, because we took a deliberate resolution to say we will be visible. Hence, we adopted even Operation Yazini, as the members are also saying. We are seeing going out there in particular on the inspection and also on the issue of the public employment services. We are going to the communities. That comes with some cost. But I think it talks to us as we prepare the next round of budgeting to look at the baseline so that we don't keep the same baseline on budget and we come here and we report over expenditure, whilst it is us who have not been realistic in terms of saying, therefore, if we are doing this work, how much must we budget for SMT? So it's a matter that we shall look at, Chair, so that we are able then not to come back and report over expenditure for reasons that we might have missed when we were doing our budgeting processes. Otherwise, Chairperson, I note all the issues that were raised by honorable members, including the issue of the SEE. I think it was also an omission on my side not to even compliment and comment the great work that is done by the Deputy Minister who is deployed or is delegated to look after the SEE, the work that she's doing in trying to knock at all doors to market, helping the administration so that we can get the understanding and the appreciation by at least the public sector on the need to support. And I think the CEO has missed the feedback on the pronouncement that was done by the Minister of Treasury when he was acting president in the cabinet, when he had made an undertaking that he would exempt SEE from being subjected to all the supply chain management processes in terms of the law, because it is an entity that is so important for it to be supported. But when the minister got into his department, he was told actually he was wrong. He had even entered a ground that is not his, because he can't be the one who says the department or even the SEE is exempted, but instead the departments themselves who are to suffer from our entity are allowed to take a decision to request Treasury to exempt them in the procurement. So it is a strategy of marketing that is led politically, and we are seeing a lot of buy-in by different ministers, as we even mentioned in our overview that we since had yesterday, that the minister presented to Parliament, and even the undertakings that are done by the premiers, including the Premier of Gauteng, on how they would love to support. It's just a matter of ensuring that, as the report was saying, we turn those commitments to tangible orders that come the way of the SEE. But we're also hopeful that with the leadership in the CEO that has since joined and is not an acting CEO, because he's here permanently transferred to lead, he will lead us, understanding his background and experience in terms of business. You've even heard the language that he's using, and we are very hopeful that indeed SEE will turn the corner. I don't think there is anything that we've left, but you'll help us, Honorable Chair, if there are areas that you might have not responded to. But the issue that was emphasized of Employment Equity Act, that is non-existent, we want to say to the members, it is in existence, and we want all the members to request all the members of this portfolio committee to go with us to Parliament to plead with other members who are still very against the transformation. It is for that reason why there were these targets that we issued by April, and we'll make sure that we monitor the implementation. For the first time, we're able to even introduce a section in the Employment Equity Act that was never implemented since the enactment of the EEA, which makes it compulsory for companies to report their EEA standard. Otherwise, they would not even be able to do tenders with government. It shows that we are serious. And lastly, I just want to request that when we bring the plan, because we normally bring our APP to the portfolio committee, if then there are areas that are not smart, that can't be measurable in terms of the performance review, we be advised, because now it is also disappointing when you come to present the work that we do, which I know we provide portfolio of evidence when we report to this important body, and we are told what you are reporting is something that is non-existent, it's not found on the ground. So we need to help one another as we plan. If our plans are not clear for the oversight body to measure our performance, let's do that than at the later or at the tail end when we come to report. We are told, no, what you are reporting is not a true reflection of what you are doing. It's also disappointing, Chair. So we would like to be advised how best then can we make it a point that the plans that we presented, which will be implementing and accounting all as we account throughout the year, are understood by all of us, including the honorable members of this committee. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister and the team. I know this is the time when we are also traveling for those who are physical in the house. I hope you can still hear me, honorable members and the team. I just want to maybe make the summary, because I think there's been an earnest and an attempt and effort made to answer almost every question. The satisfaction levels are always relative, but I think I'm satisfied that there's been responses. The question, as I say, almost like going line by line, and I've allowed that to happen so that members have good responses. But just to say that from a point of summary, that the observation to make is that the non-performance in Program 1 administration for both Quarter 1 and 2 affected other units, and therefore the recommendation is really to filling of vacancies, but also resolve the non-performance on the ICT side. Because with the CIO's response, it's quite clear that if we do nothing there, it affects the work. Secondly, is that the employment equity needs attention, especially the part of this gender and people with disabilities in the employment aspect. However, we must also appreciate the overachievement in the awarding of contract services to companies or entities owned by women, youth, and people with disabilities, as demonstrated. And this is a demonstration of an inclusive economic growth that we would expect. And the last point really is that the SCE is almost not a going concern owing to lack of support of preferential procurement, or what you call set aside, and the legislative red tapes making it to price itself out of the market as reported. And therefore the committee must support the efforts of the ministry in engaging other committees as part of their oversight work to speak on this matter. And therefore the application also for the exemption of the SCE from the requirements is supported. And where there are difficulties, I think the committee needs to also demonstrate its support. And my personal experience, having been chaired the communications, digital technologies in the previous term, the SABC spent a lot of money in trying to get content, but because of the legislative difficulties, their competitors were always ahead of them. By the time they get that content, is no longer useful, which meant that it's fruitless and wasteful expenditure. So we may get to that situation if we do not act now. Then I think we should look at it from all angles, both the executive as well as us playing our role in engaging our other committees that must help us realize this. So I just thought that's how we need to summarize, and thank you, Honorable Minister and the team, for coming before the committee to account on how you are implementing the APPs. I would say, therefore, you should be disappointed. It's the nature of the political environment, and our assessments will be relative in the sense that they are also based on our orientation and how we are engaging on the ground. And it shouldn't be that the reports are not necessary. We are engaging because they are necessary, and we are assessing the APPs that we have approved ourselves. In fact, it should be encouraged that the feedback is on looking at the weaknesses, but also appreciating also the good work that's being done, which honorable members have expressed in different ways. And I think that's important. With that, we would appreciate if you stay, but if you have to continue doing the work on the other side of the department and the ministry, you'll be free to excuse yourselves as we deal with just the minutes of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson.
Committee support, can you just run that? As I said, the members are now traveling, so just that.